Tell us about the tattoos.
Shut the fuck up, you little prick.
But then I've got the Phoenix.
Hey, prick.
So I'll take it from Bob every day of the week.
Absolute disgrace.
I'm sure no one will mind.
Move him out of here, Derek.
Ricky Hatton didn't go over for his fighter because he risked getting abducted and sold into sexual
I never said that.
Both have been rape victims. I'm not watching Frank Buglioni live on Saturday night. You're out of your mind.
Jesus Christ, get yourself a life.
He's actually a priest.
Yeah.
It's because his brother John Fury eye gouged him.
What have I told you all this time? He's going to end up sucked out, fucked out, looking for a handout.
Boxing, nutters, messenger group. I'm gonna be the king.
J-Pump, you know what I'm saying?
Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the 489th edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. I'm your host Steve Wellings, and joining us on the call we have Andy Patterson and Matty Di Gialinardo, going live on YouTube from 8 o'clock every Sunday evening. The Patreon RSS feed updates shortly after the show concludes. Hello to everyone listening through the week on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Don't forget to leave a review of the podcast on the player of your choice throughout the entire month of August. Nothing less than 5 stars is acceptable. There wasn't really a whole lot going on over the weekend, was there? Unless you want to talk about KSI and those other freak shows which keep on popping up on the old Twitter timeline. There was a show, though, on Saturday evening. Oklahoma State Athletic.
Oh, hold on, Steve.
Yes.
Steve.
Oh, sorry.
KSI has more wins in one night than Adrian Broner has in 2 years. I think that deserves some sort of applause.
Yeah, well, I suppose champ. We can shout out for KSI after his win last night. I think it was against Swarms. I am so reliably informed. You might touch upon that later. We had a question come in, or more of a comment from one of our contributors, our friends over at patreon.com/boxing asylum.
People, same night, Steve.
I know, it's been done before.
And one of them was like a boxer or two. So, I mean, fair credit to him. Now he's calling out that fucking asshole. I don't know. I guess it's vaguely interesting. I didn't watch it, but fuck me. I mean, there's nothing going on.
Well,
Hip.
Hooray!
Hooray. Boxer getting beaten by a pretend boxer in boxing match over the weekend. We might touch upon KFC, and he said, maybe KFC.
I had KFC for lunch, Steve. That's hilarious.
So was Chris Eubank Jr. the other night. I think he had the 12-piece hot wings.
Oh, I don't know.
Fat
maybe in
bastard.
MasterChef.
I forgot about that for last week. It was tremendous.
Yeah, we better park old KSI for the time being anyway, and talk about the real boxers, the real pugilists, putting their lives on the line every week for our enjoyment, how we cry and thank them. Jose Pedraza, Richard Commey, a draw, 97-93 in Pedraza's favour, Matty, 95-95 even, and a 94-96 in Commey's. I tell you what, it was a 10-round draw eventually, but it was an entertaining enough scrap, I thought. We know what these two guys are, well-matched fighters at a level or two below the very best. It had ebbs and flows. Commey started strong, Pedraza came on late. Do you think a draw was a fair result, Matt?
So I personally thought that Pedraza won enough. I thought that he clearly won the last 2 rounds, and that should have got the fight for him, Steve. I don't know where you were at on that one. But so I had it 96-94, and I had 3 swing rounds in there that I thought could have gone either way, being the 4th, the 5th, and the 8th. And 2 of those I scored for Comey. So I could have gotten anywhere from a draw to 98-92 Pedraza, given that. I thought the 96-94 for Comey was a bit of a stretch. Given that I needed the Pedraza on points to seal my parlay, Steve, after that second card was read, I knew what the third one was going to be. I was positive that it was 95-95. There was no way that was going to go in my favor. It was all doomed. Pedraza, I'm sorry that you got fucked. That's my fault. But the draw, I think, keeps the opportunity on the table for Bob to match Pedraza up against Teofimo Lopez. And because nobody wanted to see Teo against Comey the second time around, right? And then I think on that same card, they'll do Comey against Barboza and then match the winners together, optimistically being Lopez
I think
and
they'll do it the other way around
Barboza.
about. I think they'll do it the other way around about, actually. I think these two need to fight again, because at the end of the day, this was a crossroads fight that actually led nowhere in the end. So these two need to get it back on and let Lopez fight Barboza.
It was an entertaining fight, I thought. I mean, it's not like I wouldn't watch it again if they decided to run it back. It was a good, entertaining fight, solid ebbs and flows. Both guys got hurt. Both of them were busted up in their own ways. Sign me up if they did it again. But I think that Bob was using this to kind of put a little bit more shine back on Pedraza so that he could be an opponent for Lopez. That's my hunch.
Yeah, when Andy said the other way about, I thought at first he was referring to Lopez Commey, but of course they've already fought, haven't they? And Pedraza, Barboza. I think it makes more sense to kind of take the draw for both of them, Matty, and stretch out that credibility off the back of the draw rather than say Pedraza's won. We can get the maximum value out of him as an opponent, but Commey's lost, maybe not as much value. The draw kind of keeps them both as respectable B-sides almost.
Yeah, and the fact that it was an entertaining fight, neither one's stock went down. You could only say that both of their stock went up as far as the way that the fans feel about them. So it's, I think it'll, Bob played this pretty well. He put this together for fairly cheap, I imagine, with this card. Got some of his young prospects on there with them, and it was a fun enough night, full of some competitive match and some solid knockouts.
Shout out to everybody in the chat. We'll dip in shortly and see who's hanging around there. I've seen some of the usual names, faces and voices. Andy, Matty there touched upon the scoring, possibly eking out a bit of daylight between the two of them. Now, friend of the pod, Dominic Henry, you know Dominic as well. He was rattling my cage earlier. He knows what he's doing. He knows what he's up to. He's mentioning the fact to me that an extra 2 rounds might have potentially found a winner. He knows what Wellings is like when he gets hold of a bone. It's hard to shift him. Pedraza's had 5 world title fights, so all together. Commey's had 4 world title fights. So, once again, why the hell was this a 10-rounder?
Well, we've been querying this for the last few top-ranked cards, haven't we? The main events used to be 10-rounders. You had Lopez there the week of 4 as a 10-rounder. And the undercard was smarter with like rounds of 8, 6 and 4 rounders for here to here. Again, Rob mentioned something the other week there about potentially something to do with the ESPN adverts. I'm not too sure, to be honest, at the end of the day. Maybe it's down to finance. Maybe you got to pay extra cash for 12 rounders. Maybe it's involving a sanction fee. I don't know, mate, to be honest with you. I'm the same with Matty. I had it 96-94 for Pedraza. I could probably see the draw stretching a bit to get Comey to win. But, fair play to Comey. And I think he was kind of like looking to have a war and then realised, look, I need to kind of like stick to my box because he's got a good jab. And I thought Pedraza did some decent work himself. The only problem is he might just land like the odd 1-2, great shot, for example, and then doesn't really kind of follow up on it. So maybe that's how he lets fights kind of like get close on the scorecards. So it says Comey seemed to be like waiting just for a scrap, putting on heavy pressure, stalking. As I say, good job. Head clash in the 6th round, I thought kind of maybe changed the kind of swing of the fight a wee bit. I thought Comey had a decent start, and then obviously after the cut happened, that Pedraza seemed to kind of land a good straight left hand late in that round. It kind of seemed to shake Comey a little bit. Decent body work as well. Was it round 9? I think it was for Pedraza. He was shoveling in a good few left uppercuts to the body. So I think even Comey's corner were absolutely raising him, imploring him to say, "Why did you give that round away?" They must have felt that if he won the 9th, because I thought he'd done okay in the 10th. If he won the 9th. And then obviously, considering I thought he won the 10th possibly, then he would have probably got the draw. As I was saying there, I would like to see these two maybe rematch on the undercard, Lopez against Barboza, because Pedraza, Comey have had their time. They've had their world title fights. I'd like to see Barboza get his shot now and let these two fight it out over a 12-rounder, make it a final eliminator if you've got to have. But I see both are kind of highly ranked with WBC. No any other bodies have got them ranked as well. So who knows? Maybe Bob can maybe try and get them slotted in somewhere with WBO and try and get some sort of trinket on the line for him. Maybe get an eliminator shot. I don't know. Just need to see how it goes. But it was a good scrap. Like I must admit, it was decent enough fair.
Yeah, if one person can get people slid in with the WBO, it's Bob Arum himself. MB, he's a good arbiter of scoring. He said, I didn't score it, but if I had to pick, I'd go Commey. He landed the cleaner shots. Also, Clouds Gaming, Matty says 10 rounders are cheaper. Bob, Skinflint Bob, we're not going to pursue this one to its end. But do you think Bob's trying to pull the purse strings?
That's what I just said there,
Hey, like I said, he put on a pretty good event for cheap. He might have, maybe the 10 rounds kind of made it a little bit cheaper for him. Bob, nickel and diamond it all the way to the grave.
See, if you look at his last few cards, and that, especially on the undercards at least, it seems to be his young prospects, his young Olympians, for example. So maybe he's just starting this new phase of like trying to build new stars or whatever, because Lomachenko's coming back, so obviously he'll need to get slotted in. I don't know who else he's got. Fury's not going to be fighting in America, is he? So what other top stars has Bob Arum got outside of like Lomachenko, Lopez? He's got Josh Taylor, I suppose.
No, he's got like little middle of the road stars, hasn't he? Like your Barbosas, your Belangas, and then the rest of them, there's like a bit of a chasm between the ones coming through.
Yeah, Berlinga, but kind of think's no really all that, is he?
No.
Unless he gets big major improvements, I suppose.
Matthew Russell making a good point. He says 7 thumbs up and 16,000 in the chat. That's where you're wrong, Matthew. There's coming up on 19,000 in the chat and only 8 thumbs up now. So yeah, get those thumbs up. Get those thumbs up indeed. Andy, in about round 3 or 4, I think it was, Tim Bradley on the ESPN call on his own because Andre Ward wasn't about. He was off getting inducted. Bradley said he was concerned that something was wrong with Pedraza's mentality. He maybe looked a little bit flat for some reason. Turns out he was pacing himself, landing repeated body shots, and they paid dividends in round 9. Comey really powered down. There was nothing wrong with Pedraza, as it turns out. He was just investing in the body, waiting for Comey to sort of, work the engine out and then come on strong late on. And Bradley maybe a little missed a trick there.
Yeah. So it was. I think Comey had maybe caught Pedraza with something. Then as you say, maybe kind of landing a few several right hands and left shots to the body. As I mentioned, like round 9 as well, when he really stuck the pressure on Comey as well, Pedraza. So run about, like I say, from when the cut happened was at round 6, as I mentioned. Run about from there on, you could maybe see Comey slightly kind of like breathing heavy. Had a decent 8th. I think then Pedraza kind of turned it on the 9th with that body work. And as you say, maybe those last 2 rounds, maybe the 11th and 12th have maybe been all we needed to see. Actually, that could have maybe got a conclusive winner at the end of the day. But it was decent body work. But I just like to see Pedraza just kind of up the pace, kind of up the gears a little bit. I just thought if he, especially in that 9th anyway, he kind of like let it kind of slide in the 10th. Maybe just one of those opportunities where he's just maybe let it slide. So if he's just be a wee bit more active, rather than just kind of not so much admiring his shots, but when he lands a good combination, like maybe 1-2s, that he kind of like rolls out or he steps back, and that rather than maybe just kind of stand his ground for a little bit longer and try and land something more telling. And it's because at the end of the day, it took a fair bit of punishment for Comey to then start kind of like deciding, well, I need to get back on my jab here, because he has got a really good jab, Comey, actually. And just, but as I say, he kind of like went looking for it a bit too much here last night. I think that's what maybe paid the price. And I think the reason Comey maybe got so much respect on the cards, I think, again, we mentioned it last week, the pure boxers are really got to put on a masterclass, because if you've got guys here just breathing you down, landing shots, just trying to walk you down, they tend to do get a fair bit, a better shake in the cards, in my opinion, to be fair.
Matty, just before we move on to the undercard, you mentioned about the MC, Mark Chinook, I think you call him. He stretched out the suspense and the tension at the end there with the draw card. I must say, not everyone can come up with a let's get ready to rumble, but I think he's stretching a bit with his kind of tagline. It goes on forever. Have you heard him at the beginning? He's like, ESPN in the house, everybody here, everybody watching around the world. We are ready for the main event of the evening. The fight starts, and it just goes on and on and on. He's going to have to cut that down a bit, Matty. Any suggestions?
No, I can't think of any good introduction. I'd love to give him some advice on some way to introduce, give some more brevity, or maybe just some more enthusiasm. I think Diamante takes about as much time, but he's getting crowd engagement. Are you ready? And they said, I can't hear you. Then that takes up whatever time. So I don't know. Engage the crowd or brief it up. You got to figure out your own let's get ready to rumble kind of thing. And God, you're even hesitant if you can think of one to give it to him, right? Because I mean, how much money has Michael Buffer made on that? Do you really want to give away that fucking gem, Steve?
No, absolutely not. Don't blame old Buffer. He'll be gaining money off that for years to come. Michael Thompson says the fight starts soon, not too soon. Mark's on the mic. I must say, actually, on the subject of MCs, I thought the guy who did the Conlon fight the other day, Terry something, used to do a lot of the old MTK. Remember them shows back in the during the COVID pandemic and all that. I thought he was pretty good. So yeah, fair play to Mark. He's obviously got himself a good gig there. Bring back Mark Birdie, so I say. Bring back Jared Anderson while we've got you unmuted, Matty. On the undercard.
Fuck's sake, mate. What the fuck? Talk about a guy can't read a scorecard properly, man. He couldn't even read an auto cue.
Hold on, Andy. You'll have your turn. Don't worry. Tell me about Jared Anderson, Matty. He came out southpaw rather than orthodox. He showed he's got a bit of adaptability about him. Not sure about the costumes. His trainer was desperately trying to get some kind of chain that was attached to his trainer off him. He's not the biggest heavyweight in the world, even though he came in around 240. He's clearly got a few tools at his disposal. As for this Rov Channing, he was slightly better than I expected in the opening round. I thought, well, his footwork's not too bad. Thankfully, he reverted to type soon. I was starting to get worried that he wasn't going to get knocked out in about 3 rounds. He was throwing a few shots. They were mostly missing, falling short. And then he ran out of gas in, second round, third round? And it was all over. They're going to have to find better for Anderson than this soon.
Yeah, so the over-under on that fight was 1.5 rounds. So good on Roshanins for getting to the north end of expectations there. Big thumbs up to the guy there.
Who benefited from that then? Quickly, Matty. We had Anderson, we had a Jagba. Who was the beneficiary in the prediction league?
What's that? Andy. Andy got it. He got 2 whole points because he hit it dead on the nose. There was 4 rounds of action in total for those 2 fights.
Brilliant.
So, yeah, good job, Andy.
And dreadful fights, mate.
I tell you, but Anderson, he got touched up a little bit by Rovshanin in that first round, Steve, but once he found his groove, he was unstoppable. He's very fluid, very athletic. He'll be a very interesting addition to the heavyweight division. I mean, obviously we can get into the Tyson Fury thing later. I mean, I'm sure we'll be doing that to take up some time, but the division's going to be clearing out soon enough. And I think he's very well could be one of the faces. We need to see him in with some heavy competition, or heavier competition. Rovshanin has his credentials. He's fought a decent European-ish level of competition, but it's time for Anderson to step it up another level, get him in there with somebody of some substance that might give him a few rounds, because this guy's just vicious, man. He's icing these guys. That was a beautiful short right hand that he put Rovshanin down with, and I think Rovshanin oversold the knockdown a little bit, and that's because he didn't want to be in that ring anymore. That punch was very hurtful, and there's going to be a lot of interesting fights as these prospects move their way up in the heavyweight division. It's going to be interesting, I think, watching these fights come together over the next 2-3 years, because there's some good ones that are going to be made.
Chris Butler in the chat says, did Rov Channing go 12 with Parker? I think that was that Radovan Kajanu guy. He ended up fighting Daniel Dubois at some point. He was Parker's sparring partner early into his WBO reign. I think that's the guy you're referring to. I don't think Rov Channing went the distance with him, but we shall find out on BoxRec if indeed he did. Andy, you were desperate to get stuck in on old Big Baby, the real Big Baby, he calls himself, trying to distance himself from Jarrell Miller. I don't know why you'd want to do that. Fine, upstanding citizen that Mr. Miller is himself. But as for Anderson's attributes, I thought the bodywork was nice, especially with the left hand. Body shots are an often underutilized weapon in the heavyweight arsenal. I mean, ultimately, it wasn't the body shots that they brought the hands down, but it was the overhand right that finished off Rov Channing. He tried to get up. He actually didn't try to get up at all. He lay there and he just got counted out. Do you think he could have had an attempt, Andy, or do you think the writing was just on the wall for the fella?
I agree with what Matty was saying, mate. I just think the guy, he felt the power. Always say he was dealing with a fighter here who could switch stance and just didn't fancy it anymore. That's all I can really say about it, mate. I mean, he's definitely talented, definitely got the power, and I also agree with what you're saying. He needs, if we're talking like world title levels and that type of thing, top 15 rankings, I don't think there's any rush with the guy, to be fair. I mean, obviously there's a lot of politics still to play out in the heavyweight division in terms of the titles, and he's just really got to get himself into position now. Actually, I think Bob will take it slow with him, but there's slow, then there's this, to be fair. I mean, we're mentioning other heavyweight, which we'll be mentioning in a wee bit as well. You need to find far, far better, to be fair. It's okay, kind of like getting them out in 8-rounders, filling the card and looking good. It's now at this point, now, what is he, 11, 12-0 now? I like to see him maybe kind of like mix it up with someone in the top 10 at this point, actually. I mean, if he's handling, not so much handling, but if he's giving Fury a hard time in sparring, I know sparring, but that's the talent we're talking about. Feeding him against guys like this isn't going to really kind of serve up. Obviously just building up his record as such, but we need to see him be better now at this point. And the same goes with a Jagba, who, let's just be honest, mate, that guy he was fighting was just a heavy bag. Either go better work off a heavy bag. Actually, he was another one, slow-footed, just followed him over the ring and just got starched. He's another one, awful. This is just top rank card. It was just totally awful all round. But that was just equally shit as well, mate. So Anderson, I'd like to see him up at a wee bit. Who knows, mate? I know he's not looking towards maybe the loser of Zhang against Hergovich. With that one, maybe fight, maybe Zhang would be a decent opponent for him at this point, would you not think?
Oh, definitely, absolutely. He's got proven track record now of going the 12 or the 10 at least, yeah.
Yeah. Maybe Big Yoka, for example, he's still got a decent enough ranking, I think. So, there's some names that we had, Christian Hammer, maybe. Maybe start looking off some of these ex-European champions, or European level fighters. I need to try and pull up the heavyweight rankings. Actually, have a quick look to see who we're talking about. You got Cabell doesn't fight anybody. Who got Otto Wallen? He fought that Rydell Booker.
Yeah, they're not putting him anywhere near Wallin. Wallin's looking for a world title shot, and rightly so as well. According to Anderson here, Andy, he's 53 on the BoxRec rankings, so he's kind of sliding, in around the 50 kind of mark, which is probably accurate because he's 12 KOs, so he's definitely moving in the right direction. I'm looking at some of the names in and around him.
Demaresian, I think he fought in one of the PBC cards a wee while.
Yeah, he might even be looking for something a bit better than that himself, Demaresian. I'd say the PBC usually keep you around. If you put in good performances, they might put him in against that Johnny Rice next. So I'd say he'll be in the PBC ecosystem, so maybe not even him. I'm looking at the guys around, Jermaine Franklin. Andrew Tabiti, he's up a heavyweight now.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Did he not fight on the Josh Wonder card there last week?
Yeah, he did, yeah. He beat some joker.
So, mate, I'm just looking at it here. There's nothing's really kind of like sticking out to me. Maybe that's the reason why Bob's bringing in some European heavyweights, because like some of these top tier guys, you see problems right across the board politically. Like Frank Sanchez. I mean, I tell you what, actually, what about the big Canadian? There's Landbeck, Makhmudov.
Yeah, Marty Smith said that as well. Yeah, Michael Coffey, MB, saying, Michael Coffey, that would be a decent one because he lost to Johnny Rice. So, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Big Jarrell Miller as well. Maybe get him knocked off.
I'd rather see him fight Johnny Rice.
Mm-hmm. Johnny Rice will be looked after by the PBC again, though. You see those guys being brought back constantly. He'll keep holding him.
He's a great guy to test a young heavyweight too. He really is. You'd want to keep him on your roster just because he saves you a lot of money down the line, right? Like, this guy's trash. We can fucking feed him to someone else.
The ultimate yardstick, exactly. But someone like a Gerald Washington, I wouldn't mind seeing Anderson in with.
Is he floating around or is he still PBC? I don't know what his promotional shit is.
Yeah, I'd say he's probably PBC.
Yeah.
Not sure. Anyway, we'll move on from that. I had a great point to say to you, Matty, but I've forgotten all about it. So I shall move on quickly to a little possible Bellew the Week segment that happened on the Top Rank undercard. A big maintenance delay. Was it Tiger Johnson jumped up on the corner of the ring to celebrate, broke the ring. I tuned into ESPN apologising while the guys underneath were trying to readjust the ropes and stuff. The little fella broke the ring. Did you catch that?
What the fuck is wrong with Oklahoma, Steve?
I don't know. I've never been there. No intentions of going either.
It's a screwed up place. I think they're 50th in education out of the 50 states. So I'm not shocked. Can't say that I'm shocked. They need to talk to the WWE guys because I've seen 300-pound guys do backflips off of the top rope. So a man of Tiger Johnson's size should be able to stand on the second rope without some sort of a fucking ring collapse happening, you would think. Talk about shoddy craftsmanship. Taking away the shine off of that performance. Honestly, of all the prospects on the card last night, Steve, considering his opponent had never been stopped. And it was a bit of a mercy stoppage, obviously, but the punches he was landing, what he showed in the ring, I think that Tiger Johnson is probably the prospect I might be most excited about out of that entire top rank card. I think he could really end up being the goods. A lot of offensive capabilities, a couple of defensive lapses, but not bad. I mean, I think he kind of tested the waters and he knew he was okay. So I'll definitely be keeping an eye on him. He's high on the list of people I think can go far.
Talking about people going far, just closing out on this card, Andy, the top rank one before we move on to the other bits and pieces from over the weekend was Richard Torrez knocking out Marco Canado. Less than 30 seconds, much like his debut opponent and the guy after him. He's having fun at the moment, Torrez, isn't he? You got these fat messes in the opposition corner, nothing too tough. We'll find out more about Torrez whenever he steps up. I know you've got Joe Tessitore shouting, "Oh my God, wow, face plant." It's a bit of fun at the moment, isn't it? Building up the knockout record. He's got the Tash going on. They're just building up his KOs and his highlight reel knockouts. It's not doing any harm, I don't think.
Yeah, at this point, mate, I mean, I've mentioned to you before.
Say that to Canado.
I suppose. Oh, you look at my avatar, that's actually the poor bastard lying there sleeping with his eyes open. It was hellacious, wasn't it, mate? That left hand, was it two left hands finished by a right, or was it a left, right, left? I forget which one, but
I don't know.
Poor bastard, man, was sleeping. Fucking...
It was a sweeping left hand, long sweeping left hand, which knocked him out cold, followed by a short left hand flush, followed by a right hook flush.
Yeah, that's when he was sleeping before he hit the floor. He was running a risk actually after the first knockdown because he hit the guy when he was on his knees, didn't he? Stronger ref might have picked up on that. But you're right, Steve. He's at this point where he's like, he's just a bit like Anderson at this point as well. Just having these takeover fights, getting into the pro scene. But again, he's another one who we'll know more about until he's up in class. But one thing I know for a fact, having seen him in the amateurs, literally icing people like that in the amateurs, this guy's power in that left hand is godly. It's got the death touch. Trust me on that. How far he goes is up for debate. I'm not saying he's going to be world champion. Maybe he will, depend on the circumstances and a bit of luck and a bit of politics. But just as I say, if he lands that left hand, there's a good chance you can go into. We're talking Wilder type power here with this guy, mate. I'm not joking. That's the kind of power.
Really? Do you think so?
Yeah, I think so. If
that's a high bar for power, isn't it, man? That's the ultimate bar, really.
It really is. So we just need to see him prove it now, actually, because if you see guys getting starts in amateurs with these foam padded gloves on, for example, I mean, I was just talking just like a knockout against the ropes, for example, and getting called off because amateurs is quite soft in that regard. We're talking about sleeping. So, and that boy, the last couple of boys have been like that as well. So again, up in class, he's fought far better in the arms, but again, next 5 or 6 fights, just up it a wee bit, get the duration levels up in terms of rounds, resistance, and then we'll see where he goes for there. Remember, he got badly cut in his pro fight, so I don't know if the scar tissue might be a wee bit of a problem going forward, but as I say, that power seems to be legit, like.
Matty definitely looks like a good prospect who can punch. Afterwards, apparently they didn't want to send Canado home on the flight without having a good look over him, a good check over him. But High Guard Plodder makes a good point, which I was thinking at the time myself. The guy was knocked out for 2 minutes, no oxygen, no medical attention, just the cut man shaking him around. I was surprised at how much the doctor kind of deferred to Jacob Stitch Duran, I think it was, in the corner. He was the kind of taking the lead. He had hold of Canado. He was right on top of it. And the doctor was kind of a little bit deferent to him almost. I thought that was quite strange. Usually doctors are right in there, taking control of the situation, getting them up on a stool. I mean, it's a minor point. Obviously, Canado's okay, but I thought that was quite odd. The power dynamic there with it, dealing with him.
Oklahoma, Steve. It's Oklahoma.
Okay.
We lean back into that. Oklahoma just needs to get their shit together in general. That could be a podcast in itself. Definitely not one for well, I wouldn't say not for our audience. I bet a lot of our audience has some intellectual pursuit, Steve, but not for this show. Not for this show. That was just such a vile knockout, man. One of the definitely going to be in the discussion for knockouts of the year. I don't know. Andy said he thinks it could be Wilder power. That's a large statement. Wilder being Wilder's. I mean, you got probably the best puncher since Norris. I don't
Terry
know.
Norris?
Yeah, I don't know. Who do you think? I don't know. Jack? No.
You're talking about one punch power?
Yeah.
Julian Jackson, probably.
There you
I'd
go,
say.
Jackson.
Yeah, that's who you're thinking of.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like they fought each other, didn't they? And it was
yeah.
There you go.
Then he displayed his power, all right.
The only thing he lacks is the size, but you know, for what I've been reading with other boys and what I've seen, mate, you know, the power just looks. If you can knock out any, it doesn't matter the level that you're fighting at, but if you can knock out a human being like that, there's something in that fucking power, you know.
So the tough thing with power like that, Andy, is it's kind of one of two things, and Wilder proved to be the second thing. The first thing is that it's just your level of competition and the amount of punching power, et cetera, and you're just kind of knocking over cans, right? And then as you move up the levels, you either don't keep your power late or you're easy to figure out. And then you have the people like Wilder, who it is God-given incredible power. They have it in the first round. They have it in the 12th round. They have it when they're wobbling on their feet. It's otherworldly. And it's hard to put into terms like those kind of punchers. And there haven't been that many of them. There's a lot of people that if I think they would have let their hands go more, they would have had greater success. You know, maybe they would have lost a couple just, you know, because they couldn't take punches. But like, there's some guys that I think if they would have let their hands go would have been in the discussion for, you know, like great punchers of the last 20 years, you know, like your Randall Bailey's, Kendall Holt. Kendall Holt could fucking crack, man. And he never let his hands go enough. You know, I mean, he put down Bradley twice and he put him down clean, you know, and that's no easy fucking feat. And it's so it's a question for Torrez. Does he keep this power late? Is he easy to figure out? And what happens when they step up the level of competition? But the eye test, this guy has fucking just absolutely vile power, and he just has to just touch you.
Yeah, I suppose whenever he steps up in levels, we'll see how the power transfers. I once saw Sean Big Sexy Turner knock someone out in under 10 seconds in the Europa Hotel Belfast, and we all saw what level he ended up at.
see if that Olympic final had maybe been a 6-rounder, for example, he had Jalilov teetering ready to go. I just think if there were a few extra rounds in that fight, I think you'd have got Jalilov out there in America would have had the gold medalist.
You'll never know with him fighting for top rank, though, Andy, because he'll only ever make it into a 10-rounder.
Or a 4-rounder at this point, mate, for the next fucking foreseeable. Yeah, he just needs to get the class up to a wee bit, mate. But I know it's a big, broad statement in the day. And look, Wilder got shot on as well for large periods of his pro career because he hadn't fought anybody and he was icing people who were either shot, never will be's, never has-beens, and you know, big nips fight, or need to come Stavern, sorry, he'd be like fat mess, that type of thing.
Sergei Liakovic, who'd seen better days. Yeah,
guys who'd like in their mid-40s by that point. But it says we just need to see with this kid. He's got that short squat weight. I think somebody said on Twitter now about maybe go down to cruiserweight. I have no idea how he's going to dump 25 pounds off that frame because he's quite short for the weight, but he has got quite strong legs. If you look at his legs, and a lot of power generated through that back as well. So Matty's right as well. It'd be interesting to see him down the stretch in a 10 or a 10-rounder to see if that power holds up. But again, that's what we'll never know. That's what we'll never know at this point. So we just got to see it. But it says it's looking good so far, at least. I don't know whether the guy he's fighting is trash, but as I say, if you can knock out a human being like that, it fucking raises eyebrows. Like,
yep. MB says he's an Olympic silver medalist. Sorry, Matty, so he could be stepped up more. Go ahead.
I was actually thinking, you know, I mean, we got these good heavyweight prospects. They're trying to find some opponents for him. A guy that is fighting this weekend, a meaningless fight, but I'd like, you know, Anderson against Fat Joey would be a good fight. A guy that can move a little bit.
You know? That Joey Jekyll you're talking about.
Joey DeVecco, yeah, he's a good fighter. Yeah,
like someone like that. He needs to fight against somebody who is built to usually give some rounds. I remember, I think I remember he got wiped out in a couple rounds recently. I can't remember against who, but he usually, you know, gives a few good rounds. That's like the Johnny Rice kind of guys. You just got to see with these guys what happens when somebody won't stand there and just let them fucking hit them. Like, these guys have truly pathetic defense, and that's why they're getting waxed so easily.
Yeah. And I think sometimes these guys, they get hit so hard, they just can't get out of the way. The reflexes isn't there. And the ability to soak up the punches, as was showed by Mr. Canedo. Talking of big punches, we're moving on to Murat Gassiev next and a bit of Florian Marku before we look at next week's action. Liam Smith coming up next week against one-time Makino. Hopefully, Rapping Rob Kelly will be on the call by that point. Also, Bellew the Weeks is coming up. Got a load of questions as well. Episode 489, Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. In case you wondered what you were listening to, Andy's here. Matty's here as well. Let's have a look in the chat. Let's flush the toilet and see who floats to the top. We've got Yimmy Yappy in there. Cedric Sniff. Ross Dalziel is with us as well. Michael Thompson, Mark Stanton, MB. Shout out to Jim McDonald Boxing. Go and subscribe to his channel. Ryan Ormerod, CHR. Big A, Aidan Macken. Chris Butler, Cal Cheds. Who else is knocking about in here as well? Anybody that we haven't seen before? Sad Ken. Don't know if I mentioned him or not. Asif Ali. We've also got, scrolling up and down here, High God Plodders with us. Stig's Hairy Chest. That's Porky himself. Shout out to Porky doing unrivaled work out there. Boxing Channel's with us too.
You never brought us our cookies.
Take Ames is in the chat as well. Final few before we move on. Marty Smith. Shout out to you, Marty. Good to see you. And who else? Oh, Johnny Horsecock Nelson's there. And one more for the road. Who else have we got here? Make yourself known if you want to shout out. Cedric Sniff, I think we mentioned him already, but we need to move on. No sniffing about, Andy, over in, where were we? Serbia, Montenegro, one of these type of places. Wasn't Albania anyway, yeah.
Serbia,
Belgrade Waterfront Plato Arena. Murat Gassiev knocking out Carlos Welsh in the first round. Eurasian Boxing Parliament heavyweight title on the line. 233 pounds, looking a bit chubby. He's clearly taken the power up. As impressive as a first-round KO is against this guy, we saw this against Safari in his last fight, and then he disappeared again for a year. He needs consistent fights against guys who are going to hang around and take him rounds. It's okay knocking these guys out, then disappearing off for a year or 14 months. He needs consistency now, Gassiev. I know he's been 28 for the last 10 years. We just need to see him back out again quickly, Andy. No more messing around.
Against who, mate? This is the thing. I think his options are limited, I think, though, mate, because he's Russian. He's not going to get... I don't know if he's going to get world rankings, for example. I don't know if he can travel as such. I think the only reason he got to go to Belgrade is because Serbia and the Russians have got a good connection. And plus, you've got an American here fighting for the Eurasian Boxing Parliament heavyweight title as well. I want to see his fucking credentials. I need to see his fucking DNA test, by the way.
Eurasian? Isn't that like a 1984 or something? Some kind of Orwellian shit, man. What's that all about?
I need to go and check what that title was like in the last vote for. But it was so shit that I'd actually read during the week via Tim Boxell that he says it was actually free entry into that arena on Friday or whenever it was. Absolute trash. I think he only threw one shot and it was the one that knocked the guy out. It was that right hand. Fucking slept him, man. That was it. Fucking good night. I'm like, you've been in training camp for a year for that shit. So like, yeah, activity, fucking fine, mate. But what we're talking about here in terms of activity, though, who's he going to be fighting? Because if that's all he's going to be doing for the next fucking year and a bit, is just like, beat up 42-year-old pieces of trash who've not seen fucking, have seen better days, but fuck me, man. Got to see fucking far better. But I don't know, mate. But a European title fight wouldn't go amiss at this point right now. But again, is he entitled to fight for it? I'm not sure. I couldn't even pick names at this point. I mean, even Kevin Johnson would be okay as a keep busy fight. You know what I mean? Even, what do you call him? The guy out of Turkey, based in Germany. What's his name? Oh, the cruiserweight guy.
Who's that?
The 50-year-old. What's his fucking name again?
Arslan.
Firat Arslan. Even that would be decent if he's going to be busy, at least. If he's going to be busy, fucking pull up these names, some of these guys, and just fucking fight them. Because if you want activity, mate, he's not going to be fighting anybody in kind of like top 10, top 15. So we're not going to be seeing anything fucking meaningful for him. So I'm done with him, to be fair.
I think, Matty, he's got to take the short end, doesn't he, really? I mean, the way sometimes, this is a bit of a bad comparison considering he was a world champion before, but, the way guys, they're not ticket sellers, they're not going to do anything in the sport, and after about 4 or 5-0, they just become journeymen because they think, it's better going on the road and getting a payday or stuff. He's got to take the short hand, Gassiev, and say, just stick me in against anybody, any opportunity. I'm here, I'm on weight, I'm sharp enough. Just stick me in there, because he can't sit around waiting for opportunities to come to him, because he's a big puncher, he's dangerous, he's got all the political issues as well. Who wants him?
That's the tough thing. It's kind of like high risk, low reward, right? Like boxing fans know Gassiev. who else is that going to sell to? You know, it's kind of a fight. Whoever it is that he might fight sells to the hardcore fans, right? So you kind of wonder, like, who would fight him? Like, where is he ranked right now? Who might have to fight him? The dude that just beat Mediocre.
Bacoli.
Yeah, somebody like that. That's a fight, you know.
Bacoli's not going to take that fight, though, mate, because he fought in eliminate against Mediocre, and he's not going to want to risk that, you know.
Well, there you go. So it's kind of like he needs to find a point. There has to be someone who gains something from fighting him. Find that fighter, and there you go. And that's a really narrow list.
See, to be honest, right? I mean, he looked in decent shapes, didn't he, Steve? I thought. I mean, I thought I said last week he looked awful. I remember just the camera angle given that interview a couple of weeks back, but he looked fucking huge. He looked about 240, I think he was. He looks in good shape. So if he's in that good shape, why is he not maybe out fighting again in maybe 6-8 weeks' time? Even if it's another 8-rounder, for example, against somebody even in Russia, for example. Again, I'm struggling for names here, but you see, if you want to see him active, even if it's going to against no mark for 8-rounders, like if he's fighting like maybe like once a month, build himself up, because it's understand that he's had some bad injuries, but what these injuries are, I'm not too sure. I've never heard anybody, or I haven't heard any speculations about some of these injuries are, to be fair. Maybe some hand issues, but he still seems to have the power in the right hand at this level, at least. Or is it just mental with him now? Is it just because what happened in the Usyk fight, he just got totally dominated and well paid, and maybe just the motivation isn't really there anymore? But he just
He
wants
must
to
be
do it.
rusty too, Andy. You get injuries, don't you, whenever you're not fighting fit?
Yeah, but then again, you always hear for, like, say, you know, Carol Fox always kind of goes on about, you know, there's you know, when you go into a ring, you know, for a fight, you're never really at 100% because you've had to leave something in the gym to try and take the weight off, maybe a wee injury in sparring, maybe you're covering up a wee hand problem, for example, just like things like that. But again, it'd just be interesting to know what his injuries or what his issues have been. And then we could maybe, you know, cut him some slack if it's like serious issues that he's maybe kind of like, you know, battling against, for example. But if it's just like inactivity, can't be bothered and doesn't really want to do it, then why the fuck should we care about him, to be fair? Because most of the comments I've seen about the fight were like, well, it's a total waste of time, you know, waste everybody's time actually as well. I mean, I think that fight was on, you could see it for free if you had a Russian VPN. That wasn't even fucking worth finding a Russian VPN to sit and watch that trash, mate. It fucking lasted 30 seconds. You'd have spent longer trying to find the VPN for it than fucking watching the fight.
Even Tim Boxeo wasn't interested in that one. Des says here, it's going to be difficult for Gassiev to get back. Don't forget he was even going into the Usyk fight. I think he's peaked. That could all be over for him.
Yeah, a lot of people actually thought he'd maybe have was going to beat Usyk pretty handily. Loads of people did actually, just based off that pure godly power. He badly beat up. Was it Dortico he beat up in the semi-finals? Badly knock him out. Was it late in the fight?
He knocked him out badly, but it was pretty even Stevens going in towards the end. That was a good fight, actually.
I need to go back and watch that. Some good fights with Dortico. Good power as well. Yeah, Desi's right, mate. It could be that as well. But I think a lot of it comes down to motivation as well. But obviously with the political situation, it's going to be hard for him to get opportunities. So you've got to start looking at, like, I don't know about currencies or ban, but you need to look at Brazil, China, you know, Serbia there again, maybe some German fighters, for example. But unless he's ranked, nobody's going to take a risk on fighting him basically at this point. But some of the bigger heavyweights, I would think, would probably fancy him because he is a smallish heavyweight. But as I say, you just don't know how his power's going to land against some of these big boys as well. Will they feel it? Probably.
Andy, just sticking with you there, no breaks in this game. Before we move on to the questions, Florian Marku on Thursday night, I'd actually forgotten about this. Friend of the pod, Des, messaged me, and then I stuck it on. It was actually a good fight. I can see why the boxer, Ben Shalom, and then have gone out to Albania. Marku puts bums on seats in London. He sells a lot of tickets. They've took him out to his homeland. Excuse me, he got a good show. This power, I thought he fought within himself for a long time. Seemed like he was a bit worried about his gas tank. Eventually, he cut Marku, dropped him heavily. I think it was a left hook in around the 8th round or so. And it was actually a good fight. Marku, he sells tickets, but, you know, he talks trash. He's exciting. He has a bit of power about him, and he's got a good fan base in the UK. There's actually quite a lot of marketability and a lot to like about him, I think, Andy.
Yeah, I was kind of dipping in and out of this fight, to be fair, mate. So I'm maybe not too well based to kind of like cover it in great detail. But you're right about the about the wee trick about taking him over to Albania. I mean, it was something like 15,000 that was at the National Stadium, I believe.
There was a whole load, yeah.
So that's nothing to be sniffed at, to be fair. So maybe Eddie's missed a trick with him there. You say he's probably got a bit of star power in the UK, but if he's going to pull a type of crowds in over in Albania and that, then he should maybe just look to maybe do it over there once a year. Maybe something to kind of look at. But yeah, for what I was seeing, it proved to be a tough night. I think he got cut, heavily dropped. I seen the knockdown look quite heavy actually. As I say to you, well, you just don't know what you're going to get with some of these Mexicans. It could be bums coming over, just like gatekeepers, not even gatekeeper status. But some of these guys sometimes they might just like surprise you. But like, we mentioned about Lara, for example, came out of nowhere. So yeah, look, for what I seen, it was quite tight early doors, and then I kind of like missed the kind of middle half of the fight. But for what I did see, that Mexican seemed to be having moments of success. So I don't know if I was catching that late. Maybe the guy was coming onto a fight a wee bit. So maybe you can fill us in and kind of missed blanks, the blanks that I've missed of it. But I caught the kind of early half and the kind of latter half of it. So as I say, Marku badly dropped. Usually talks a lot of trash, and I suppose on another night he probably would want to have looked far better, maybe stop his opponent as well. But to get dropped in front of that crowd, I think there's only one option for him, and that's to get up on his feet and fucking fight the fight right to the end, actually, because it'd be unthinkable for him to lose that fight, especially getting stopped actually in front of all those fans, because it would be a hard comeback actually as well.
Yeah, good point. I was thinking that myself. They were roaring him on and he was there getting dropped. He showed a lot of heart. He came forward. A lot of the rounds were the same. Power, put it in as best as he could, but it was a good opponent. And Shalom's doing a decent job with him. He stopped Chris Jenkins in his last fight, so good luck to him. Shout out to someone we've followed on the pod in the past. We like our fighters down under, especially Father Dave. Abdullah Sacco calls himself Abdullah Mayweather. He's 6-0 with 4 knockouts. He's a fan of the great Floyd himself. Old money man here, Abdullah Mayweather. He's going in next weekend in Brisbane. He's a super middleweight. He's fighting for the Australian super middleweight title. So good luck to Mr. Mayweather. He might be selling windows soon. Who knows? We'll see how he gets on next weekend. Let's have a look at our questions that have come in from the beautiful people. What have we got here? So, first of all, we had a question. Well, not so much a question, actually, but we had a bit of correspondence come in over on nuthousepodcast@gmail.com. My God, I haven't cut this very well, have I? I'm going to have to put my glasses on to try and get to the bottom of this one.
15-inch screen over here, Steve. Work with me.
I didn't think this one through at the time, did I? Fuck's sake.
Where's my microscope? Here it's here. Fucking hell, mate. Take a look at this.
Yeah, it's Irvin Kentish then. So it's not so much a question, it's more of a comment. He says, hello, Nuthouse.
Irvin what? Irvin Kentish?
Irvin Kentish.
Oh,
Mr.
right,
Kentish.
sorry.
He says, I'm a long-time listener, huge fan. I look forward to the pod every week. I have a little project for the pod. I've been doing these types of scenarios for a while. You can literally connect almost every fighter from different eras and different weight classes. Here is how Julio Cesar Chavez fought smoking Joe Frazier. So let's go through this. I can barely see this here. Let's have a look if we can. Hang on a minute. Sorry, boys. Let me see if I can put it on there. Is that any better? No, that doesn't make any difference whatsoever.
Can you see it? You want me to read it out?
I'm bringing you two back in.
Like,
So
this is like 5 degrees of Kevin Bacon on
we've got
steroids.
Chavez beat Hector Camacho. Camacho beat Sugar Ray Leonard. Leonard beat Duran. Duran beat Barkley. Barkley beat Tommy Hearns. Hearns beat Virgil Hill. Hill lost to Roy Jones. Jones beat Tony. Tony beat Holyfield. Holyfield beat Holmes. Holmes beat Norton. Norton lost to George Foreman. And Foreman beat Joe Frazier. Thank you again for having the best boxing podcast. No, thank you, Irvin, for sending that in. So there you go, boys. Not so much a little project. I think Irvin's on the
I'm trying to see if he's got this in date order, by the way.
Hold on. We gotta try this. Just the fighter connection is incredible. So we gotta try to find something. You guys are more historical than I am, so I want to try to throw something to you here. So I want you guys to connect. Let's go. I want you to connect Sergio Martinez to, let's see, Sergio Martinez to Floyd Patterson.
Fuck off, man. Go back fucking 50 years.
No. Let's see.
Finger blast Uranus, man.
Sergio Martinez to Andy Patterson, I'd say you'd be
what you got to do is you got to find that fat fuck at one of the lower weight classes that found their way up at heavyweight or cruiserweight at some point in time. And then you'll find your gateway.
You'll
Well,
find a friggin' rope to hang yourself, I think.
At least this guy's went for like what's it say, Foreman, Frazier to Chavez, Hector Camacho. So he's only went over fucking 15, 20 years or whatever looks at, right? I'm not going back fucking 50 years to try and. You need to pay me to do that, man.
Hang on then. So right, there's maybe an avenue here. I'm not saying we'll get there, but
there's
Martinez,
one card to talk about.
Martinez fought Pavlik, who fought Bernard Hopkins, who goes back quite a long way.
Who fought Roy Jones. So we're back to the fat guys.
Who fought Roy Jones? Who fought
John Ruiz? Well, let's go there.
No, we're going back. We're going forward in time again now. We need to go back, really. Don't we? Yeah, because to get to Patterson, you need to get back to the previous decade.
I thought we were just doing connections. I didn't know it all had to be chronological.
You're probably better coming up the years rather than going back the years, actually.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You've got to, haven't you, to get to Patterson? So Roy Jones to Ruiz brings you back closer to now. You need to go further back in time. So I'm not sure that.
So
Floyd, not necessarily, because Ruiz was fighting some of these 90s heavyweights in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Well, give us a minute. So Patterson lost to Ali, right? Ali lost to Frazier. Frazier lost to Foreman. Right? Foreman fought
Holyfield.
There we go. Work it back through there. Then.
Foreman fought Holyfield. Holyfield fought Ruiz. Ruiz fought Roy Jones Jr. Roy Jones Jr. fought Bernard Hopkins, who fought Kelly Pavlik, who fought Sergio Martinez. You just didn't want to put the work in, Andy. But
I put the work in every week, bitch. Didn't he start?
Holyfield was the smoking gun, wasn't he? There we go.
It could have been worse. I could have said something like, "Get your way from Nonito Donaire to Rocky Marciano." Like, I could have been fucking total dickhead. Like that's an entirely different exercise.
Hey, that was quite fun, actually. I don't want to do another one because I'm
sweating. No. Take it easy on that.
I will have to try to get from Lee McGregor to like Makabu or something next time. That was a good game. Oh dear. Right, what was his name again? Irving, was it?
Irving Kentish.
Irving Kentish. Thanks, Irving. That was good fun. There we are. That'll do. What else have we got then, boys? Let's have a look. We have the Oasis podcast. He threw in a question the other week. He's thrown another one in. He said, "It seems to me that lots of British fighters tend to slowly maneuver their way to a title shot, take a couple of fights for big money, step up to proper world level, and lose a couple, and then retire. Whereas the Mexicans, Americans, Asians, etc. tend to fight on and have multiple title fights over many years. Amir Khan is the only Brit that has booked the trend, and whereas the likes of Billy Joe, Groves, Barker, DeGale, Quigg, Frampton, etc. all followed that route of taking a couple of losses and then hanging them up. Does the panel agree?" What do we think, Matty? First of all, you're the official voice of American boxing. Is it because of the population? There's more Americans around that world level, whereas the Brit is a smaller pool to deal with. What are we looking at here?
Man, I'm trying to think about that. I think that goes both ways, and I'm not going to say that I have examples right here in front of me off the top of my head, but I mean, we've done enough boxing or Box Rec research and stuff like that, and you're going through it, and you're like, so-and-so won a title, they fought one more time, they lost, and they're done. And it's all over the place. They made too much money and shit like that. Peter Quillen, 2 losses and done, I think, right? So I mean, there's one. So
Fake chocolate.
Yeah, I think a lot of it, and I think there's 2 ways to go about it. There's this great, and it's funny. I actually watched this really good documentary on Netflix, and I can't believe I hadn't watched it before. Steve, have you ever seen one called Counterpunch? And it's interesting. So I think it came out 2017, but they're filming like 2013, 14 through 15-ish, if I recall by the years. And they're following fighters in 3 different phases. They were following the American heavyweight amateur Cam Awesome. They were following Chris Colbert as he turned professional, and they're following they're following Peter Quillen. And it really, really good flick. If you haven't seen it, highly recommend it. It's on Netflix in the US. Andy, you have VPN, so I mean, you'll be able to watch it. Other people, you got to figure that out if it's not just UK available. But Quillen's one of those guys that just kind of threw the towel in after a loss. And I just mentioned Colbert. what the fuck happened to Chris Colbert after he fought Garcia? You know, Garcia's fought again. Colbert, have you heard a peep from that guy?
I'd say, mate, am I right in saying that Counterpunch documentary, was that not the one that had Colbert away training or sparring with Juan Carlos Payano, and he came up short? I think he was told on the phone, and he kind of started changing his attitude and how he loved the game.
Yeah, he's kind of a prick. That's when they used to call him like Little B-Hop when he started.
I don't think he takes it seriously, to be fair. I don't think he's committed as to what it's been made out to be. Plus, he's not a big hitter as well, isn't he? So he's going to come up, if he's not a big puncher, he's going to be coming up short. And that Commey, awesome. I remember him actually, because he actually got his name legally changed to that, didn't he? Fucking brilliant.
He did.
Is he a pro? Who is he?
He's an amateur, mate. He was going through the Golden Gloves route, I believe, trying to kind of. It was not an Olympic alternative, Matty, I think, for the US Olympics.
Yeah, he was. He was going through the trials and stuff like that during the documentary.
To get to the Olympics. They don't get so far, like maybe the nationals or whatever. Maybe got beat in the semis or the finals.
Yeah, like some big Demonte Rock, I think.
That's the one. That's the one
that kicked his ass pretty good.
That's the one. He was a pro for a wee bit as well. He's been missing.
And would you be shocked if we never see Chris Colbert in the ring again? Would you be shocked?
Yeah, I think he's got a lifestyle to lead. I think you'll see him. He's only mid-20s. I think, as Steve says, PBC. If you tend to show up kind of decent, I think they'll look after you. They put you in, tough fight. I mean, fucking Abner Mares has got a fight next week for fuck's sake.
No, I think he will, Andy. But I think what Matty might be touching on there. Colbert feels like he might have been found out. I know that's a lot to say after one fight. I didn't like his body language or the way he responded in the Garcia fight. It feels to me like someone who's been found out, and I know he hung around and he got to the 12 rounds and everything, but I think it's going to be a tough career for him now, especially matchmaker-wise.
Yeah, possibly, mate. As I say, the lack of power is probably a problem for him as well. But
with the talent around that 130 and 135 pounds, he's a fucking nobody. He's a blip on the radar.
Yeah, exactly, mate. So as I say, look, everybody needs to eat. We've all got bills to pay. I think we'll see him back, but again, it's up to him. For what as Matty was mentioning about that documentary, for what I can recall of it, that Payano spar, which was again, it was a training camp, but just there was wee incidences in that just that short film that I was like, He's even got his trainer on the phone to him, telling him, listen, you need to start fucking living the life, you need to start eating properly. This is a good, when is that, Matt? It was a good 3 years ago for that thing came out, wasn't it? 3-4 years ago?
4, maybe even 5 now.
Yeah, there you go. So even then, that was a problem then. So if he's not taking the sport seriously, and you say if he's come up short, yeah, it's not looking too good, but I think we'll see him back. Again, it's up to him how far he's going to take himself seriously, but I don't think he'll go far, to be fair.
Man, they got Quillen at a bad time in his career for that documentary. It was when he had the draw with Andy Lee, and then he got iced by fucking stopped on his feet against Danny Jacobs. They kind of had a really bad time.
Just booking the trend, Matty. Sad Ken mentioned a fighter that came to my mind on the question just before we move on to the next one. Ricky Burns hung around, didn't he? Still having fights to this day. Said he wanted to get to the 100 fight mark. I doubt he will, but he's definitely gone on maybe past his sell-by date. I suppose if he's still getting wins, why not? But he does book the trend of those guys.
Yeah, there's so many. I mean, I don't think it's necessarily that way. I mean, one of the people he didn't even mention was Hatton. But I mean, Hatton fought fucking the top level competition, and he made ridiculous amounts of money and destroyed his body. What's he gonna do? I think it's way more. This is all just so much more individually based than a national trend or anything like that. I think there's examples all over the place, and the UK is also a fifth the size of the United States. I mean, you got sample size.
Yeah, absolutely. I think of guys like Eric Morales, Antonio DiMarco, those kind of fighters, they do tend to go on quite a long time afterwards. But if the paydays are there and your money, if your name still brings in money and has currency to it, why the hell not, I suppose. What else have we got then? So we've had Irvin. Let me get rid of you, Irvin. Let me get rid of Oasis Podcast as well. And Pete S is the next one here, just as Rob Kelly jumps on the call. Andy, Pete S says, how many views do you think AJ's next pay-per-view does, considering he's coming off 2 losses, his after-fight antics, I don't know what he's referring to there, and no Sky Sports coverage, and it's on an app? I think
I know.
250 max. Any thoughts just before you do, Andy? Are we talking about an app here? Hang on. We have views on this app. Not necessarily everybody might agree, but Leonard Ellaby here has his own thoughts. Here we go.
And it's just an example of that Canelo's popularity has gone down drastically because, again, he's signed to an app that nobody watches.
Well, he's
Those
right.
views may or may not represent yours, Andy.
And then and obviously you've got Robert Garcia coming out saying he was mentally defeated after, was it the 10th? I think it was the 10th round he said it was. At that point he was relying on basically a good shot. Yeah, look, it's clear I think that they'll probably will put Joshua on pay-per-view in DAZN, but they'll need to try and milk that money back somehow. Again, we go back to what we said last week. I think him fighting immediately this year again would be catastrophic, depending on who he fights, obviously. The way AJ was talking up to that Usyk fight, he's telling Eddie was telling, the guy Hawani doing an MMA hour, he was saying that, he would beat Usyk without a trainer. Don't need a trainer, I'm pumped for this fight. Really tough fight. He was really up for it. And his trainer said he mentally quit in the fight. I think obviously after that round 9, he thought you had him on the hook ready to go, and then Usyk just come out, mentally changed it up, and just fucking went to business. And as for the question, mate, was it said the question again, mate, about the pay-per-view?
He was saying what kind of numbers is he going to do? Is the
numbers.
Popularity, the appeal and the popularity is still going to be there to a degree for many fights to come, I think. But the fact he's on DAZN, the fact he's lost, the fact there's no Sky Sports, it will gently whittle it down and water it down as it goes on. Not so much next time, but after that, I think the people will lose interest eventually.
AJ versus Shannon, make it happen.
Who?
The guy that just got beaten by Anderson.
Fuck, mate. Jesus Christ.
he needs a soft touch with a shiny record.
Well, as a wise man once said, people would tune in if AJ were fighting a pig.
Yeah, I
would too.
Have DAZN ever really released numbers on their pay-per-views, for example? I don't think they have they?
No, that must mean they're doing really well, I think.
Yeah, it must, mate. Because Eddie wouldn't be out telling us how many fucking numbers we've made, that type of thing, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. Fuck. I don't know how many subscribers I've got, what territories are going to have to pay pay-per-view to watch Joshua, so I can't really pack a 7th of the estimate on it, mate, but I'll go something like 10,000. And again, I don't know. I've not got DAZN. You've not got DAZN. Well, Matty's got it, but he'll not be paying pay-per-view for fucking Anthony Joshua, for Christ's sake.
They don't charge me for pay-per-view for Anthony Joshua over here.
Yeah. And also, was there something else as well about that Eubank fight as well? It's like a certain price for non-subscribers to DAZN compared to DAZN subscribers who will pay for the pay-per-view. There's no like a slight increase.
Tiered, yeah. Well, they had to do that, didn't they? That was ridiculous, asking people to pay for the subs for nothing and then pay the pay-per-view on top. I'm not surprised they've done that.
Yeah. No, mate, but again, I just don't know how it's going to go. I think that they've got to get it right if he's going to make a comeback, but who watches the app? That's the thing. Who watches an app these days? I don't know. I really don't, mate.
Well, this is the thing. Andy Michael Thompson says, for all Bricktop's criticism, I doubt his small shows get more than 5k viewers on BT. I completely agree. There's no chance. Half of them they'd be doing in the handful of thousands, if that, which then goes to show even the lower. Say your Dalton Smith against your fellow O'Mason the other day on DAZN. That's on an app. That's watered down even further. You could be looking at hundreds of people at a time here.
Supposedly, maybe. Yeah, look,
who knows? Who
knows, mate? I mean, fucking numbers are not really my fucking strong suit in terms of like when you talk about TVs and that. But if you're not going to get them to release numbers, how many pay-per-views are doing, how many subscribers I've got, I mean, that's what some of the questions that maybe some of the YouTube guys should be asking them. What's the subscriber basis? You know,
my philosophy is, Andy, sorry to cut across you. My philosophy is, if the numbers are good, you hear them. Oh boy, you hear them quick enough. You press release them. They're telling them on YouTube every time. So every time you hear numbers, you know the numbers are good. Every time you ain't hearing numbers, you know why you're not hearing them.
Well, see, remember going back to like Floyd's days with Showtime? It was usually like a week after you're getting like numbers are in. No totally. There's not a final number yet, but we're looking at something between 500,000 and 750,000 numbers. Which you think that's not bad. Generally about a talking point, but as you say, never hear anything in terms of numbers coming through DAZN. I wonder if Sky maybe even, or I forget the name of the website. I don't know if Sky would end up releasing it, but there's a website you can actually check. I think you check the numbers, how many viewers that they do, that type of thing. But I don't know if it would work for Sky box office, to be fair. So, well, I'd imagine Joshua did decent numbers last week because a few boys I know who are casuals were buying it. My brother-in-law bought it as well. He's not a big boxing fan, so yeah, I'd imagine it done pretty well. But once you start taking away that Sky market machine, like as in Sky News, which Eddie has always stated, it was the big, one of his big marketing drivers anyway was having Sky Sports News, having that channel pumping it out 24/7. Knew Eddie's going to do all the legwork himself, and it's telling now actually, because even Eddie's shows, which he's putting on Sky like once every couple of weeks, but with the Zone, it's not like that. It's awful content. None of the fights are fucking appealing. You get the odd good main event for here and time to time. And it's just no hate, just simple fucking facts at the end of the day. And he played a blinder, I must admit, with the Joshua Usyk stuff as well. Opening that one up to the highest bidder rather than let it languish on the Zone, because I don't think the money they were getting offered, at least, that I don't think they would have made that because what the Zone could potentially afford.
And I don't stand here as well. I know I'm stretching this out, but I don't stand here and say this with any great joy either, that I want to see DAZN fail and I'm a miserable wee bastard sitting in my room here. Oh, isn't it great DAZN's failing? I'd love Eddie to have proved us wrong. He's got the $1 billion. Amazing. Let's put on the best fights. But it's just started to just gently whittle itself down and just started to melt like a chocolate teapot. I don't particularly take any pleasure in that.
I just think with the money involved, mate, I think it could. Again, it's all hindsight now, I suppose. But if you're throwing about that type of money, bringing in the heavy artillery, as Eddie says, you need to spread it about a bit. I mean, why was it 10 million for Mikey Garcia? What the fuck, man? What did you get back off Mikey Garcia? He was coming in and he was going to be aggressive at taking Broner. Why would you take him Broner? And he was going to fight, bringing in Charlo. One of the Charlos only fights once a year now at this point. Getting who else was he mentioning? I don't know if he made a
Javonte he tried to get in there.
Javonte, I had Tony Bellew saying, come to a decent platform, Showtime or DAZN. It's a hard choice, mate.
Danny Roman was the best one, wasn't it? Do you remember?
Aye.
How did you end up signing here? Well, they rang me on Wednesday and told me to come down to the fucking opening.
And what was the other one? Jesse Vargas. Fuck me. And then obviously it was Anthony Josh's big move to America. Was that on DAZN, that fight against Ruiz? No, wasn't it?
Yeah.
No,
that was the
Sky.
first one. Well, it was on DAZN in America, wasn't it? That was the whole
was
thing.
It?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Forgot about that then. So yeah, it's just no want to see Eddie fail, but like you seem taking L's along the way, But it's Box Nation was purely boxing, but Box Nation at least had fucking fights on for like across the globe. If you leave it, like Eddie's doing these things for Mexico, he's trying to get this thing going in Australia, he's got the Italian cards going on. Oscar's doing his bit for time to time, but the content's not there, mate. I think there was somebody complaining the other week that check the schedule, there's fuck all on it. Absolutely zero on it in terms for.
They were banking on getting the football, or they were banking on buying out the BT, weren't they? Really, I think.
Was it? And was it like hoping to get the Champions League football?
That's what they really needed at that. But that was it felt like a pivotal moment to me, I think.
Yeah, but again, I think you end up stretching it too far with the fans and that as well. If you're forced to watch your team or your sports across 4 or 5 different subscription channels, as I mentioned before, folk are like, fuck this pish. I'm going to get my IPTV, I'm going to get my Fire Stick, I'm going to fucking stream it on illegal channels, for example, because you're fucking paying up through the roof £200 sometimes for some of these subscriptions. Sky, I don't know, Matty would be able to tell us what he's pays in America. You got Sky, BT, you got Premier Sports.
I don't want to comment on it.
Fucking everything else, man, on top of all that. So yeah, you're talking the best part of £200 a month. Fucking not going to pay that shit out. And if you're not putting on the good fights, fucking not going to be fucking paying for it anyway.
Absolutely. Rob Kelly's on the call with us. Good evening, Rob. How you doing, sir?
What's the crack, guys?
Getting on well, Rob. Here, Rob. Pedraza Commey was on the weekend, but before burdening you with that one, earlier on we had a question from a guy called Irving Kentish, and he was playing those wee games, where you go from Julio Cesar Chavez to Smoking Joe Frazier, I think it was, and so-and-so fought so-and-so and beat so-and-so.
6 degrees of separation kind of job.
Something like that. So it was a nice little game. So Matty threw out a challenge for us. He said, how can we get from Sergio Martinez to Floyd Patterson? Do you think we managed it, Rob?
Sergio Martinez to Floyd Patterson. Listen, I could probably do this, like, but definitely not on the fly. There's no way that I could do this on the fly off the top of my head. Like, I fucking maybe once upon a time, but not now.
No, it was difficult, but we managed it. What was it again, Andy? So we went from Sergio to Pavlik.
We came up the way. So was it Floyd Patterson beat? So he lost to Ali.
Lost to Ali.
Ali lost to Joe Frazier. Foreman. No, sorry, that was it. Ali beat Foreman. Foreman beat Frazier. And we worked out that way. Frazier, sorry, Foreman lost.
Foreman fought Holyfield. Holyfield fought Ruiz. Ruiz fought Jones. Jones fought Hopkins. Hopkins fought Pavlik. Pavlik fought Martinez.
Good stuff.
We worked it that way. We jumped it a few years ago. It was Matty come up with that one. Like, fuck, it's a 50-year time span. We'll never fucking figure that one out.
I'm reminded of a wealthy man who once told us to get ourselves the fucking lives, and imagine if we applied ourselves to anything else. Anyhow,
speaking of which, by the way, just to follow on from the point you're making on DAZN there, I don't think it's ever been more apparent than last weekend and the aftermath of this weekend that you're seeing that the success of DAZN hinges on AJ's future, like, because they've done that damage control. I'm sure we get to it in Bellew of the week, like with that black and white fucking with the musical backdrop, like as if it was a fucking for charity for saving blind dogs or something. Like AJ's fought Eric Molina.
He thought he died or something.
Brazil. Yeah, Jesus Christ! Like,
I think it was in the picture we were getting him at one point.
Talk about doubling down on the fucking mental health breakdown. Like the fucking he bursts into tears and all. Then the music goes all sad and Eddie gets all stirred. Like, Jesus, man. Damage
control.
And I tell you what, I thought that was really interesting from Robert Garcia, because fellas were saying that last week. Oh, he's getting bad instructions again. They're telling him he's winning the fight. But Rob McCracken used to do that as well. So is it like in the aftermath of what we're seeing that he's just that fragile? Like, he's a big robot, but he's fucking fragile beneath it. Like, he needs to be pumped up all the time. Like, you need to tell him you're winning, you're the best, you're the number one, you're number one, dude. You're fucking, you know what I mean? You're in control. Because if there's any kind of like doubt creeps into him during the fight, then he's lost. Like, does that make sense? Like,
that's what Garcia said, though, mate, didn't he? He said that after was it the 10th, he was out of ideas. Basically, you had to go and he's basically just looking for that one big shot, hoping it was going to land, because at that point, because he was dominated at that point apparently. So it's like though now, like they're in a very, very difficult position. Like, this is fucking scary. Like, they're wanting to get him back out. It's kind of facts are revealing themselves about AJ and the kind of the mind state that he has when he's in a fight. Like I said before about the, you know, as the travelers say to each other, you're a bet man. Like, AJ looked like a bet man in the press conference in the run up to this fight. But like, do you think other fighters, like, they're going to be looking for signs of weakness? And if you're looking to sell him on DAZN on an app, it's a tough ask, man. It's a tough ask without dance partners for him, like, isn't it? I don't know. Anyway, evening, Ed. Hope you're doing good, dude.
Now they've done the appeal, though, Rob. They might get some partners for him.
They only get Samaritans involved.
This is Femi. He's had to go to Saudi Arabia for a payday. This type of video. He's stuck on an app. Brazil. Please, with your £10 a month, we can get Femi a payday.
They'll need to think of something big for him, though, in terms of like, so how are they going to generate publicity? To get eyes on that app. What do you do with him? You would need to kind of create. I'll tell you what they'll probably do. See, after all this shite last night, I didn't even watch any of that KSI stuff, to be fair. And I'm sorry for bringing it up, or some people raging about it. But see if they would pick KSI, for example, on one of his undercards with Joshua topping it. That would probably be the only option he'd probably have to generate numbers.
On a 3-fight deal, on a mega fight deal, that's probably the only route they're going to be able to go. Like.
Yeah, maybe have these kind of like mixed events, MMA, kickboxing, something along like the ONE FC championship fights. I'm just speculating here, that, but if you just fucking
gonna have to do something, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. They're losing money left, right, and centre. I mean, or it tells you the quality cards that they started to put on the last 18 months. Considering how much money they've thrown about their very early start, but we've had DAZN now boxing was 4 years, and again, we're going to maybe harp back to Eddie, but he has not put on one meaningful fucking undisputed title fight. He always seems to kind of lose out in the big fights.
Yeah, can't get across the line, can he?
He can't do it. He's back. You know he's back offering. He's back offering Deontay Wilder fights now. I think they can see where that one's going to be going.
Didn't
Good
we
evening.
see this one coming? Deontay Wilder's name is. He's going to have Deontay Wilder's name in his mouth now for the next fucking 6 months, where we roll out. God knows who. I don't know. Like maybe the guy who dropped him in sparring before Ruiz. What was that guy's name? Steve likes him.
Oh, who was that?
That's it. Joey DeVeco. Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
that's
that's his second mention on this pod, Rob.
There you go.
Caballero as well. He got mentioned for knocking him.
Yeah, it was one or the other. Yeah.
Two of them on the same night. I like KSI. Let's go.
I like KSI. Here, Rob. You mentioned KSI a few times to get stuck into this from Andrew Wedgwood. He said, a bit late in the day, but my 15-year-old son has come back from a night at his mates watching KSI on DAZN. He goes to a gym and watches the fights with me on TV. He cannot stop talking about this, Dejai, etc. Never seen him so animated about a fight. Not a question, more an observation. It's the future, baby.
I mean, you can't stop it. I didn't want to mention. I shouldn't have mentioned KSI's name on this because I think I've kind of got a gripe with some of the social media boxing channels that they're pandering to this nonsense so much, and it's actually out of control now. Like these fellas are headlining the fucking DAZN subscriptions. It doesn't matter, as Callie says, the numbers do the talking. Like it doesn't matter if we want it or not. It's happening. Like, and I think they've just been getting away with one. In that fellas haven't got really seriously hurt. Like some of the I didn't watch the fights, but I saw some of the stuff kicking around on Twitter, and some of these guys are going to get really fucking badly hurt, man, because there's levels. Some of them are training at a high level and dedicated trainers and fucking, athletically gifted. And other fellas are just jumping in the ring for a fucking paycheck, never had a fight in their lives, never trained in their lives, and they're starting from scratch. And somebody's going to get really, really badly hurt, like really badly hurt. And I think they're getting away with it at the moment. But it's only a matter of time. And I'm not going to take any great joy from it, but it's going to be very damaging to the sport long term when that happens. So don't want to preach about it, but it's just something I don't even want to talk about it. That way, like it's just fucking. It's pathetic and it's damaging to the reputation of boxing. Imagine like if fucking all the celebrities and YouTubers just decided they were going to fucking play soccer and they were going to like start having fucking friendlies in Old Trafford and everything. Like, do you know what I mean? It just it's like, well, it just wouldn't happen in any other sport, but boxing just fucking opens this fucking door. Like the guys who I really think are culpable in all this are the sanctioning bodies and all, and the licensing, the commissions who are licensing these events.
Yes.
Like, just because there's a payment involved, like you couldn't get like a fucking blue collar over the line probably, like in a lot of places, but you can get like fellas who've never thrown a punch in their life in the ring with small gloves against fellas who, I'm sure there's no fucking 365 testing or anything involved. There's all kinds of going on fucking rant and rave about it, but it's just a bit sickening, like, and especially like when you look at the likes of Pedraza and Commey, two capable guys who put everything into the sports and never be elite level, never make the fucking massive paydays, like, and they're overshadowed on a night by two lads off YouTube, a rapper and a YouTuber having a fight in a fucking massive arena on a massive platform. Like, it's got to be a sickener for them. So
that's a great point, actually, by by Rob about the testing. I never even thought about that, Matty. But a couple of points to you on this. First of all, I remember a few years ago, a guy that I sort of tangentially not knew very well, but he did a white collar somewhere over in England. I think it might have been Leeds or somewhere. And he literally trained the 8 weeks, 10 weeks, 12 weeks, whatever it was. And he ended up getting put in by the matchmaker against a guy who had real experience. I think the guy had been an amateur boxer at some point, so he'd done the dirt on him, and your man proper emptied him. Like really got him in the corner and beat the shit out of him. Your man ended up with a broken nose, bleeding nose, and he was telling me about his experiences. So if you're putting in guys like that with a lack of experience, that could definitely happen. But also, it's a wider blemish on the sport itself, because the next day somebody gets injured or hurt from one of these YouTube things. There's no distinguishing between real boxing and this boxing. You see your Google alerts flying into Gmail in the morning or whatever, as I do. It'll just be man hurting boxing match, person hurting boxing match. There'll be no distinction between what it was, who it was. They'll just say, oh, boxing, dangerous, people getting beaten up again. Here's another injury. So it could generally do damage, as Rob says, Matty.
It could. But I also think there's that idea of if fighters pass the medicals, et cetera, they should be able to fight, even if they aren't fighters, you're sanctioning it. And it's just part of it. And something bad might happen, but it hasn't. And I joked about it some degree last week, but I watched a really interesting piece about the Isle of Man motorcycle race. And every year, basically one person dies. There's very few years where at least one person does not die. And yet they still keep having this race. People still keep signing up to be in this race. They still open up the course for any Tom, Dick, or Harry to go and try the course before they actually have the race. So, I mean, as far as it goes, I mean, we all make these choices and take risks. And for the amount of money that they're getting paid, it's a heavy risk. I mean, we got people that go and, getting shot at overseas for fucking a fraction of what these guys are making. So, the risk involved is what it is. And these people are getting paid well. And the one thing you have to say is when they do bring in these actual boxers, even if they lose in the case of KSI's opponent, he's getting better paid than they ever would in any typical card that we might see as far as, just a DAZN or whatever for an opponent, for the Campbell Hattons of the world kind of stuff, right? So I don't know. It is what it is.
No, absolutely. Fair points there, Matty. Taking on board. Let's get back to the real stuff then, Andy. Next week's action. We have Ruiz against Ortiz coming up later. Before we get onto that one, there is a show on Sky, no less. Carl Greaves matchmaking for Ben Shalom. Fraser Clark's on the undercard. John Doherty's going in against unbeaten Diego Costa. Adam Azim is having his 6th fight. We've got Natasha Jonas against Patricia Bergholt. Nice little fight popping it up, actually. The chief support, Dan Aziz, 16-0, going in against Shakan Pitters. I last saw him, I think, fighting on Channel 5, getting beaten by Craig Richards. That's a good trade fight, actually. And then the main event, 12-rounder. This is in the ESPN. Liam Smith against Hassan. One-time Makino hasn't been beaten. He beat hasn't lost since he beat Sam Eggington last time we saw him on UK shores. In his last fight, he beat the ever-present Julius Indongo in 4 rounds. He's a puncher, Makino. Could this be a fun one, or is Smith just levels above under?
Yeah, 4-year undefeated, mates. Just coming in with loads of confidence. Done a lot of it though in the next door arena market in Dar es Salaam, though, I must admit. So we've no idea what type of quality he's been fighting. He beat Julius Indongo, that killer ex-IBF champion as well. ABU championship title as well. He wasn't on the line for that one, but I think Smith will be levels above this guy. To be fair, I think Makino's, barring a major surprise, I would say Smith does it pretty handily. I think he'll probably stop him around about middle rounds. What is that, a 10-rounder?
12.
12, right? Okay. Yeah, I'll say about the middle rounds for Liam Smith. I agree with Dan Aziz, Shakan Pitters. It's a good chief support. I think it's a British title fight on that one. That John Doherty, that Diego Costa, that was the one that Oz was talking about a few weeks back. Saying he was better than what some were suggesting.
Yeah.
So again, obviously Doherty's got. Who did he take that L off again? Actually, we mentioned him the other week there.
Yeah, wasn't Cullen? No, was it Cullen?
I think it was Cullen. Jack Cullen.
Yeah, that's what sprung to my mind.
Same here.
Sprung to yours too.
So again, an interesting one. This one as well. Actually, you see, I just pulled it up there. Actually, there's no mention any rounds, so that's a bit disappointing. I'd imagine it maybe be an 8-rounder possibly, given what's on the card so far. I don't even think Costa's been involved in a fight that's actually been scheduled above 6 rounds as well.
I think he'll be an 8, Andy. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, an 8-rounder possibly, mate. So it'll be interesting to see on that one. So a couple of interesting fights. Like you see, Pitters, Aziz, Smith, as I said, I think he'll win by stoppage. Not too sure about who Natasha Jonas is fighting at this point. Never heard of her. I think she's undefeated. And the rest it's Tom Bob Anderson. So I imagine Fraser Clark will be fighting some sort of no-hoper. Again, another like Torrez and the guys and Jared Anderson were fighting last night, something along those lines. So yeah, it's okay, fair. Certainly different or better, but probably was on ESPN last night, to be fair.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Rob, I agree with Andy. I think about in the 7th round for Smith. I think Makino will come out firing big bombs, might make it uncomfortable the first few rounds, but as soon as Smith starts landing the body shots, Makino will power down, and I think around a 7th or 8th round stoppage, I'll go for 7th round. As for the undercard, Rob, Natasha Jonas against Patricia Bergholt. She might as well be fighting Patrick Berger for all I know of this woman. Any intel?
Same ponytail, I heard. That's about all I have to offer on Bergholt. Don't know anything about her, but big fan of Natasha Jonas. Also, hopefully she does the biz. Undefeated opponent. I wouldn't like to see her come unstuck at any stage. Natasha Jonas.
What about Smith Makino? Quickly, Rob, I know you're a fan of one time. Finally, he's getting that big fight after all these years.
Yeah, I think with Makino come and have a right go, man. I think it's going to be entertaining fight. He's fucking. We don't really know how good he is. Like, you know, that way he's been fighting. He had his moments against Eggington, was it?
Yep.
When he smashed him up and he said he wanted Calbrook and then he faded to Bolivian. Right. Yeah, he faded to Bolivian and then he went back to Africa and he's been fighting on all kinds of cards. But Andy probably tell you better than me. I think he's on a pretty good run, isn't he? He wins, like, so.
4 years unbeaten.
Yeah, we don't know. I think he could spring another upset, you know, Aquino.
Rob's trying to talk Matty into his parlay here to get one time he win this fight. Eh?
I don't know. Because I honestly don't know how good he is. Like, I don't know if like Liam Smith is head and shoulders above him. Like, I don't know. We have to wait and see. I think Aquino come and have a right goal. Like, I think he'll give him something different.
The Eggington fight. He commit Eggington. He knocked him out, didn't he? Eh?
They stopped it. Yeah, he smashed him up.
Was it an early stoppage? I can't try.
It was early enough. I think he was like round 4 or something. He just rocked him and then just fucking went to town on him, like, and got him out of there. I'm going to give him. I sneaky feeling for that he's going to do something in it, but maybe Smith to tough it out. I don't see early stoppage. Maybe Smith late stoppage, like. No, I'm gonna say Smith on points, but Aquino gives him all he can handle.
The prediction league now, Matt. You need to get this fight in the prediction league.
I didn't even know this fight was happening, so I already made my choices. I'm sorry.
Tanzania, Matty. Have you not been looking at the schedule?
I'm going for one time. I'm rooting for one time anyway. His debut was amazing.
Oh, cunt, you fucking change the rules every week on that prediction league so you can change
I think of ways to make it interesting, and if I'm dishing out the cash, you can suck my balls.
Oh, Matty, let me tell you, man, there was carnage in the prediction league this morning of the Nutters group. I woke up to about 50-odd messages of people going, so hang on a minute, is it the over or the under? And past the 3 rounds, and no, I get points for them. I'll tell you what, they were going. Fire emojis flying.
Hey, the 2 heavyweight fights.
Yeah.
Well, and I'll tell you, next week's going to be tough for him, Steve, because we're going to be previewing a fight hours before it happens on Sunday, so they're going to have to be on it. I almost think I should get you the fights a little bit early for next week's podcast, just so the guys can have their say.
Yeah, go on, Rob.
Oh, sorry, did I come off mute? Sorry, I didn't mean to. Sorry.
No worries. Anything from Smith Makino, Matty, now that you know it's happening? Has it touched a nerve?
I'll tell you what'll be interesting. I think is Jonas is going to be going up against a fighter in Bergolt who is a naturally bigger woman, who has a really weak resume. Has a really weak resume on there. There was really only one name on there that I recognized. She beat Hannah Rankin. So I think that Jonas is going to have to be able to use her speed in here, in and out, try to avoid the larger fighter in this one as much as she can. But, we've seen some stuff with some Swedish fighters where you kind of wonder what the talent level might be there. We saw Elin Cederus get absolutely whacked around by Franchon Cruz de Zern earlier this year. So actually, this is an interesting enough fight. I think it's curious to see how Jonas will do in this one. Maybe Bergolt is a better fighter than I might be giving her credit for. So, a little bit of an interesting fight on that one.
Interesting indeed. Liam Davis has thrown in 179. He says, please, Eddie, can we have some more fist? More fist required from Liam Davis, who's been fisted into the draw that will take place next week for the signed Andy Lee glove with his 179 super chat. Thank you very much for that, Liam Davis. On to the next card, which can be previewing, which I think is making up the bulk of the prediction league. So we'll go to you first of all, Matty, over in Sonora, Mexico, Saturday the 3rd of September. Juan Francisco Estrada against RG Cortez. Bit of argy-bargy there. Hector Flores Calixto, who's got 4 draws on the record, going in against Sivanathi Nonshinga. He's a South African guy down at light flyweight.
All 4'11" of them.
Oh, he's like a baby Jake Matlala type then, is he?
Yeah, he's a little short bastard. The 5'4" fighter is going to have a 5-inch height advantage. No, 7-inch height advantage. Holy shit.
7 inches going in there. Erica Cruz Hernandez, 14-1, defending a WBA World Featherweight title against Yelena Murdanovic. She's got 11 losses, so that should be competitive. And we've got Eduardo Hernandez in a 10-rounder against Jorge Mata Cuellar, WBC International Super Featherweight title. Matty, take it away on this one, please.
Yeah, and like Steve, you're still ahead, so the picks themselves, you're gonna have to be going first on these ones. You keep holding on dear
I'm
life
holding on
here.
for a piss here. So what do I have to pick? Sorry.
I'm telling you. But I'll give you a little preview. One of them is going to be Cuellar Hernandez. The other one's going to be Estrada versus Cortez. And the tough one is on these fights, you don't know a whole lot about these guys other than Estrada. There's just a little bit of limited knowledge here. My phone just went dead, obviously, so that's perfect timing. Yeah, fantastic. Cuellar, you thought you remembered him fighting Tank. No, he got knocked out by Rogers Gutierrez in a round a handful of years ago. And so that's the only defeat on his record, if I might recall in that one.
No, according to this, Matty, he has your phone doth deceive you. He's got 2 draws but no losses apparently.
Maybe who is it? Maybe it's Hernandez that maybe was the one that fought Gutierrez.
Yeah. So I was mixing up Cuellar with Jesus Cuellar, but this is Jorge Mata Cuellar. He's in against Edward Hernandez, who's 32-1.
Yes, there you go.
29
Hernandez.
knockouts.
Yes. Only defeat to Rogers Gutierrez on that one. You have to give him the experience on this one. Cuellar definitely unknown. I mean, it's just a bunch of junk on his resume, Steve. Just a bunch of junk. So that it's interesting. So just a little bit unknown. One guy more experienced. He has the loss. The other guy coming in hasn't taken an O yet. Hasn't been tested. So I think that's a really curious fight on that one. And then Estrada versus Cortez. Cortez, much younger fighter, much more active fighter. We have to remember that Estrada has not been in the ring for 18 months since he last fought Roman Gonzalez. It's been a hell of a long time in there for you, and you got to think the younger guy might put a lot of work in there. Obviously, the judges are going to lean towards Estrada, but it's. Despite the lack of experience of good fighters for Cortez, it's a great position for a young, hungry fighter to be in.
Okay, then. So if you can take this to the boys before I nip out here, I will go for Estrada on points against Cortez in a hard-fought fight, and Hernandez catching up late with Cuellar. I don't know. I might go for points on that. No, I'll go for knockout for Hernandez. Knockout for Hernandez, points for Estrada. Is that okay?
All right. Knockout for Hernandez, points for Estrada. You got it.
Please. Thank you.
All right. Rob, what are you thinking on this one?
I'm going to go knockout for Estrada and points for fucking the other guy. Who's the other guy?
No, so that's the same guy that Steve picked just by
points instead.
By points? Okay. All right. Yeah. Got it. Knockout. All right. Andy, what are you thinking?
Well, obviously, the general consensus would be you pick Hernandez to win by stoppage, considering his KO ratio, but who... I do a porky here and say who's he actually beat for all those KOs and that as well? Is it kind of like mid-tier guys? Is it lower tier guys? Who knows? I'm trying to remember who I've seen Cuellar fight before. Actually, is he another Mexican? I'm assuming.
I think maybe.
Yeah.
We at least know that he's Hispanic.
I'll go with Hernandez by stoppage. Yeah, I'll go with stoppage for Hernandez. Maybe that knockout you were mentioning there, maybe just a freak situation. Who knows? The Estrada situation is kind of weird as well because this is like the ring title is on the line, I believe, and one of the franchise belts as well. I think he's had problems with injuries and that as well, Estrada. So I wouldn't be too quick to say maybe stops the guy, even though I've not seen much of him. But I believe this guy he's fighting's never went past 8 rounds in his career. So I'm maybe going to say Estrada maybe pulls off a late stoppage. Safe option would be obviously wide on points, but I'm going to say stoppage from the late round, but the 10th round. I'll say Estrada late stoppage, and I'll say Hernandez about the mid to late round stoppage.
All right, I'm going to be copying Steve. I think I was looking at this earlier, and I think that Estrada goes points on this one. I would love to see him get a good knockout victory and stake his claim again. But, man, he's getting a little bit long on the tooth, isn't he? He's got to be 35-ish now?
Estrada, give me a second. I had his record there. Give me a second here. Nah, they've removed his date of birth. Yeah, he's definitely in his early 30s, though, mate. Definitely about 33, 34 mark.
Because, God, the first time that he fought Gonzalez was what? That was 2012?
Trying to remember as well. I mean, I forgot that he's got that win over Chocolatito, didn't he? In that last fight, was it last year? I think it was.
Yeah, that was the last time he fought, though. It was
Yeah.
in March of last year.
Fuck. As I say, that it was because of injuries and that, and obviously Chocolatito's come back to beat Martinez, beat the shit out of him badly. But yeah, I can see your point on that. Actually, is it the rust? Is he? Yeah, I'll change it to points as well, mate. Change mine to points. You've taught me round there actually. That year out, the injury maybe been a wee factor as well, and this guy being was unknown to me at least. I don't obviously other guys have maybe seen him. I've not seen a stitch of him, but the 8 rounds, never been past 8 rounds. I mean, like scheduled 8 rounders to he's never been past 8 rounds. I think he's been booked in a 10 rounder before. That might be an issue. If this is a 12 rounder for any belts on the line, which I believe his lineal title is on the line. Yeah, I'll go with points, mate.
Yeah, it's just tough to tell how he's going to look with this. I'm always pulling for him. Definitely one of my favorite fighters. I think that I wouldn't say that he is quite at that level, but I think that he is definitely kind of in that vein of Juan Manuel Marquez, great Mexican combination punchers. You know, I love the fighter. He's a great fighter. But
definitely on the back end now, though. Definitely.
God, yeah, he's got to be close on the back end of it, and you know,
got to imagine as well if he struggles in this fight, if he doesn't look good, you know, I might have a few people lining up to kind of get a shot at him about Chocolatito would want a third fight with him.
Oh, this is the zone. They'd feed him to Bam. I bet you if he's super vulnerable, they'd feed him to Bam.
No, they've got to make that third fight.
Sonny Edwards is fighting Martinez. Bam Rodriguez is up at he's talking about coming back down possibly as well, and he'll have some. I forgot actually. Estrada's this franchise bollocks champion, isn't it? That's what allowed Rodriguez to fight for the WBC title.
Yeah.
So you're right, Matty. That could potentially be a fight that maybe WBC might order. I'd be happy to see that one. That'd be a nice in-house fight. Plus, Rodriguez again gets to feast on another top name. Maybe faded, obviously, but still racking up all these, taking out the old guard. That's the way to do it. You know, he took out Quadras, he took out Rungvisai, he took out Estrada. Ken, who's next on that list, eh?
Yeah. And, I mean, he basically cleared out the generation of great lower weight fighters right there and said, "I'm here, bitches." That would be a hell of a statement.
He's not beating Chocolatito though.
Right on.
I think he's still got one good effort left in him, by the way.
Yeah, and then retire. I don't want to see Chocolatito going on for too much longer. I think he's paid his dues now. Not that it's for me to tell him anything, but if he's listening, I think he should think about your legacy, and after the next couple, maybe one more run at it, I think.
I want to see, who do you fancy to see him against them, mate? I mean, Rodriguez is ideal for me, like, because Matty says if you could take it the old guard, that old generation, even Ioka, for example, throw him in there, you know.
They've been trying to make the third Estrada fight, haven't they? But Estrada's gone missing, hasn't he, for like, the best part of a year or something?
Mm-hmm. Obviously, Gonzalez had that Martinez win since then as well, you know.
Yeah, I think that third fight, maybe they need to clear that up, especially after the second one. Get that sorted.
Yes, that's actually like if you just take a glance at it, that's not a great card on DAZN. But then when you really dig into it, those are some potentially competitive matchups, and we didn't even talk about that IBF light flyweight fight on there. I couldn't make heads or tails on that one. You got a really small guy with dynamite in his hands, apparently, against a much larger guy who can jab and move a little bit. It's an interesting card.
Well, Eddie's got a bit of tie-in with the Japanese promoters at Honda, so I don't know if you can maybe try and get Ioka across for unification with Rodriguez or Estrada, for example. You know, these are fights that we'd like to see happen. Maybe Ioka's one we're looking to get the
I would love to see him fight one of those guys before the end of his career. The fact that we haven't seen Ioka against any of those fighters is a shame.
Mm-hmm.
I just think, I suppose, mate, Ioka's only went up to super flyweight in the last year and a bit, whereas the other guys were fighting each other because that's just how it fell at that time, I suppose, in the promotional situation. But
Ioka's been at 115 pounds for 3 or 4 years. He fought Tanaka at 115 pounds. He fought Nietes the first time at 115, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was 2019, 18. I mean, so yeah, it should have happened. It's goddamn shame.
Have you got all the picks for this one then, Matty? Yeah?
I do.
Right, so I need to check something with you here then live on air. You mentioned about Ruiz Ortiz, which is taking place next Sunday evening, next Sunday evening your time, yeah?
Yes, sir.
So the way you mentioned about the predictions, are you doing that for next week's?
Yes, we're going to be using that for next week.
Yeah, so effectively for the Nutters League, then they have to get Ruiz and Ortiz picks in this week with the DAZN picks as well, because they're not going to have it in that space of time. Now that they're aware of it, they're effectively throwing in 4 picks then in the Nutters group to get them in on time.
Yeah, that's tough. I think that I don't want to do all of the picks on that one card though, because that Saturday is Savannah Marshall against Clarissa Shields and Michaela Mayer against Alicia Baumgardner.
So that would be the 10th of September then.
Yep,
Shields is on. Right.
Yep, so that'll probably be a 3-pick week. Ruiz versus Ortiz is going to be on there for sure, guys. And I asked in the chat and nobody came up with it. And I quit looking after I hit Matthew Greer. But I challenged people to find the last time Andy Ruiz fought a southpaw. And I got down to Matthew Greer, which is almost 10 years ago, and there was no southpaw on Andy Ruiz's resume. That's very curious, and that's why I God damn it, I don't want to give the pick now, but I'm leaning, Steve. I'm leaning.
Right. Okay. So yeah, just to reiterate that then for Joe and the boys. So effectively, if you want to do the picks for the Mexican card, and throw in Ortiz Ruiz picks as well on behalf of next week, because they'll not be able to get them in time otherwise. And then obviously the following week you'll be able to do Shields, Marshall, whatever else Matty's throwing in. So if you want to do those fights, if you're in the league, you're better off throwing them in this week, I think, because you're not getting them in on time otherwise. Anyway, you're alluding to that fact, Matty, about that you think that the favourite could be possibly Ortiz given the southpaw thing, or is that just a little kind of anomaly you're pointing
out? He's not the favourite.
For you, I mean?
I'm thinking there's something there. And if you also think about, like, Ortiz is long in the tooth, and he struggled, but he still won his last time out. But if you look at, Areola is no fucking Luis Ortiz, and he caught Andy Ruiz in exchanges and put him down and hurt him. I struggle to think that Ortiz isn't going to find some of the same as success, especially because Ortiz likes to fight at the same distance as Andy Ruiz. I mean, Ruiz isn't like really a back foot boxer. He's kind of a hold his guard, jab his way in combo guy. This could really not be a good fight for Ruiz. I don't know.
Andy, what are you thinking then? Again, I'm going to harp on. It seems to be registered as a 10-rounder on Boxrec. I hope they've got that wrong. I don't know why on earth they'd be fighting over 10 rounds. You got Flabby. I'm going to say they must have had that wrong. It needs to be a 12-rounder. Both two very experienced fighters. Ortiz carries the power. He was struggling against Charles Martin, I thought, before he came back earlier this year to stop him. He definitely carries that power late. Whether he carries the stamina is a different thing. And Ruiz has to come in decent shape. If he comes in like a fat blob, then he isn't giving himself the best chance. I think it's reasonably well matched between the two of them. It feels like a crossroads fight to me.
Yeah, you just got to hope we're going to get a conclusive winner. I mean, imagine get a draw and having to walk this one back. Fucking Christ almighty. Yeah, well, obviously the main thing, as you say, mate, is Andy Ruiz coming in shape. I mean, he's had like one fight since the Joshua fight back in 2019. That was big nips. Went a distance, even got dropped in that fight, I think. Ortiz as well. I'm just trying to remember that Charles Martin fight now you mentioned it, actually. I mean, I've not seen him. I don't think I've really seen him properly since the Wilder loss. Look, Ortiz, again, whatever age he is these days, he is going to be in the fight as such. He is a tall unit compared to Ruiz. I don't know, mate. I really don't know. I'm not really interested, to be fair, either as well. This one fight just does nothing for me. It's on pay-per-view as well.
Yep.
Not for you.
Well, mate, I'll need to watch it. I'll watch the highlights when I get up the following morning.
Oh, Jesus.
I'll say Ruiz on... No, I'll go Ruiz points with no great enthusiasm or conviction, to be fair, mate. Would not be surprised to see Ortiz maybe try and eke out a boring decision. But yeah, I think Ruiz will be slightly more active, possibly possibly. But again, we just need to see what's fucking shape especially what he's in, and we're just going to find out what fucking Ortiz has got left as well. Because he's not fought in over a year, I believe. Is that right? Or was it earlier this year that he fought Martin?
He fought Martin in January. Wasn't that mad card at the beginning of the year, like on the 3rd or 4th of January?
Oh, was it? Right.
I think so, off the top of my head.
I cannot remember that at all.
I think it was that, wasn't it that card where they had that fight between, do you remember the Russian and the other fellow were knocking each other down for fun? It was on New Year's Day, 1st to the 1st, 2022. And you had your man.
The fucking
Kaladze.
ref shut it down, that son of a bitch. It was shaping up to be a great fight.
Kaladze against. Oh no, that doesn't seem to be on this card. Ignore everything I just said. Yeah. Oh no, it was. Yeah, here we are. Yeah, it was. Yep. It was on that card. Sorry. Yeah, second round knockout. There you go.
I can't remember that card for loving their money, mate. I must have been pissed at. I was pissed at the actually Saturday, 1st of January. I remember lying on the couch, fucking sleeping. I never saw that card. I can't recall it anyway, mate. Sorry.
Not to worry. So, sorry, Matty, are we going to be talking about this fight next week then? I see these Sunday cards, man. They need to stop this right now. This is messing with my brain. I can't cope with this.
Yeah, well, and I think the reason that they're doing it on this day, Steve, is that's the weekend in between the preseason and the regular season of NFL football. So there's kind of a gap of entertainment on Sunday. So I think that's why they're throwing it up on a Sunday night stateside with a heavyweight main event. Those, usually sell to at least somewhat of the American sports audience regardless. So, but yeah, we'll be talking about this next week for sure. So Andy can change his pick around. I can have a chance to rethink this. I tell you, you think about Ortiz being old, he hasn't looked that great, but when you look at the fact that Ruiz hasn't fought the southpaw in at least 10 years, as I can tell, and that Ortiz can still pop with that left hand at the distance Ruiz likes to fight at, man, I think it could be a banger and it could shock some people.
I'll tell you one thing, Matty, just before we get Rob's pick on the undercard, there is some shit fights. I mean, I don't know why they're wheeling out Devin Vargas against Charles Martin, Abner Mares with his eye injury coming back against Florian. Not interested in that. But you see right on up as you get on up the card, Ruiz Salim against Mike Planier, Joey Spencer against Kevin Salgado, Jose Valenzuela against Corrales. Not too fussed about that. And then Isaac Cruz against Eduardo Ramirez. I think there's some really well-matched fights on the undercard.
Yeah, decently matched fights on the undercard. Jezreel Corrales is still a decent enough fighter. I mean, that's a good enough name. I don't know much about Cruz's opponent, but he's always a curiosity in there because depending on his opponent's dimensions, he's one of those guys on any given fight where a good taller fighter could just jab and maneuver him around the ring. So yeah, looking forward to this in general. Abner Mares, that'll be an interesting one to see what the odds are on that one. I don't know much about his opponent either. Coming off of that much time off, eye injury, stuff like that. God, you have to wonder about that one on the underdog too.
Yeah, Mares' opponent got knocked out in the 5th round 2 years ago by Ramirez. Ramirez is featured actually on a few of the Showtime openers. He was in against Luis Melendez last time and Mariaga and Isaac Avalar. So he seems to get on that 3rd spot of Showtime PBC cards. So they're obviously building him up. He lost to Lee Selby a few years ago as well, which doesn't bode well, but he's improved since then. So that's
what weight did he lose to Selby at too?
That would have been at feather or super. Yeah, feather for the IBF. That was 5 years ago though, in 17.
Selby was a good featherweight. I was just waiting for the moment when he just couldn't size up at lightweight, and it happened.
Rob, we're going to be talking about it next week, but any quick picks thrown in? Any early thoughts on Andy Ruiz against Luis Ortiz next week?
Yeah, I think Maddie could be onto something with the southpaw stuff with Ortiz. It's hard to know where Ruiz is. You mentioned the weight. I've seen a recent fight hype video of him in the aftermath of AJ and Usyk, and he looks in good nick. Like, he looks really in good shape. But having said that, I thought he looked in pretty good shape versus Areola in the preparations for Areola, and he didn't look great on the night. He was very flat, so it's hard to know where he is. And Ortiz never lost a second of any of the fights with Wilder until he got knocked out. Like, I don't think, you know what I mean? He nearly had Wilder gone as well, like, didn't he? So it was just, Wilder has that incredible power. What that's after taking out of him at his age. Didn't look good, as you said, early against Charles Martin. That's not a great sign. So Ruiz, you'd have to say, fresher guy. And if he's switched on and throwing combinations, he might have enough to get over the line. But I have a feeling it's going to be a kind of a no-win fight for Andy Ruiz, and a fight he needs to look good in, and he might stink the place out with Ortiz contributing. So I wouldn't put it past Ortiz to get the win. But I think it might be even like a similar contentious result, Areola style for Ruiz, which is not what he needs. Like,
absolutely, we'll look forward to that one next week and make our picks as well. And I'll speak to Joe in the week to sort that out. A couple more questions before we get on to Bellew the week. Then, first of all, from Kevin Sutherland, he says, "Hi Steve, hi Kevin. When listening to the AJ post-fight pod, it got me to think something Andy said about growing the podcast. Have the panel ever considered going fully visual? I reckon the podcast would grow if you went full video. I think people respond better to video rather than audio. I'll continue to listen regardless. So keep up the good work either way." You're the co-host, Matty, but one thing I'll say about this, right? People have asked this in the past, actually. There's a couple of reasons why I wouldn't want to go video. Nothing to do with showing your face or anything. Everybody knows who I am anyway. But first of all, my internet is shit, man. So imagine trying to get through an audio on a Sunday evening, let alone trying to get through a video with everyone on the call as well. That would be a recipe for disaster. And also, I like the audio element because it's like a radio element. And you can sit here, you can scratch your ass and being on camera for 3 hours. I think that sounds like work, man. That would stress me out too much. So that's my answer to that, Matty.
It's definitely a technical thing, and as far as bandwidth and stuff like that, your internet is rough. Every once in a while, you have to go and threaten your children with deportation to preserve the bandwidth. And Andy seems to have good internet more often than not. I have exceptional internet. Rob, it stands out by the freeway, and it's touch and go at best. So I don't know if it could handle all of us being on video. And I'll just be honest, Steve. And this is if fingers pointing out, there's always 2 pointing back at you. We're not an attractive bunch.
Talk for yourself, you cheeky cunt.
I posted the film poster from the movie Powder on Andy's wall on Facebook, and he didn't say a fucking word. Now, I tell you can't tell the goddamn difference.
Well, I was guy's a bit just too white actually. I'm a bit more kind of he was like milk. I'm kind of more pale blue, so I'm slightly more tan than that motherfucker.
Oh, he'd have to be pale blue, wouldn't he?
5 days of sitting in the
north, for
basement,
Christ's sake, man.
Color. What's that?
I'm from the north. We didn't get fucking tans up here, man. We fucking skin falls off running about us like fucking potatoes.
I know. After my golf vacation, my skin is just like a beautiful Mediterranean bronze. It's fucking
right. We've enough skin talk, right? Fucking can the skin talk.
See the Scottish holiday, for example. When you see the kid about with his fucking cream on his nose. That's him on his fucking fourth nose that week because the skin keeps fucking falling off at the poor bastard.
I tell you what, though, right? In terms of the video idea, I wouldn't mind doing it like as a one-off special or something. I wouldn't like to be committing to it every week, like
every week.
But,
no.
Yeah, but like maybe for a post-fight or something, we might try it some night.
For me to do it, I need to do a Rob. I would need to be out on the streets walking about the place because where my workstation is, for example, my family's fucking basically walking behind me. For example, so
yeah, mine too. They don't give a shit, man. Even you know what I mean. In any scenario, like they just walk into the room. You know what I mean?
Exactly. So if I've got my kids kicking about, for example, and you guys have maybe got a paedophile, maybe kind of sitting watching in the background, having my fucking battle.
To start charging.
Exactly. We're going to start charging for that type of content now, mate. So.
The fuck.
No, you don't want anything that feels like work. I think. I mean,
you
have to sit on a camera for 3 hours, and you were here for
maybe if there's another lockdown or something, we might go that route. Like we try it as a one-off Christmas special or something. But
unless they want to kind of like up the super chat pledges so we can get the
equipment in.
We can get a studio, for example. We can fly Rob in for fucking Ireland. We can get Matt in for fucking America every week. We would do a studio version.
Oh, that'd be amazing. That's the live tour that we're still working on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I often think about going over there for a couple of weeks just to get the hell out of here. Like,
they wouldn't let you in, mate.
Oh, I can get in, no problem.
You should do, Matty.
Yeah,
you can come and sit next to me and do the podcast, and we can both sound like nothing.
See, I don't want to go over there if there was a good. If I'm going all that way, I'd like to go over there for a good fight. I would like to experience the atmosphere of a good British fight. There's something with the environment that you guys have going on with the fights. It's entirely different from the United States.
It's a bastard getting tickets for a big fight nowadays, because nobody's going to give us credentials, and well, I suppose we could get credentials some way. We could get credentialized
with the connections.
I bet Fat Mick would get us one.
The big fights, the fucking Autobots do buy all the tickets, don't they? Like 0.5 seconds and all. You got to be up like at 6 in the morning and all to get a ticket for a fight these days. Fuck that shit.
That's the thing. If I come all that way, I mean, I'd go sit in the nosebleeds at a big fight. Like, whatever. I mean, if you're not in like the first 50 rows of a fight, you're watching the screen anyways.
Yeah, and you're back at most boxing events.
Mm-hmm. You want to come, Matty, you're more than welcome. But yeah, an answer to that.
You want to find me, mate? I'm not hard to find them at front row at most boxing events, mate. Come and say what you've got to say on your daft podcast.
It's coming up on Bellew Week. Don't worry about that. No, what Rob made a good point there. We'll maybe do a one-off special on camera one of the times. But I remember when we used to have guests and stuff, Andy. It was good having the odd guest here and there. But do you remember we went through a phase where we were having like 3 guests on an evening?
4.5 hours.
Oh, we were going for like 4 hours, and you were ringing them behind the scenes, bringing them on, asking them questions, getting them off, keeping the podcast running, then getting the second one on, then getting the third one on. See, when you were coming off at 11 o'clock at night and uploading the podcast, man. I was sweating, man. It was like I've done a fucking full day's work.
I think actually you got to go to bed listening to ASMR videos trying to get yourself to sleep.
We're supposed to be doing this for fun, man.
Exactly. You actually hear Ozzy and Matty eating from time to time, eating their fucking dinner while they're doing the podcast.
So yeah, I know you think we sit here like dossers, but there is a bit of work goes into it. So no, we're not going on camera anytime soon. But thanks for the suggestion. Maybe a one-off. Second one, just for fun, before we go into Bellew of the Weeks, from Big Dave G. This was in the Nutters during the week. He said, "Did anyone just watch Countdown? I'm in the gym and I haven't got my glasses on, but I could have sworn as the end credits were rolling, it said special guest Carl Frampton, which begs the question: which boxer, past or present, would you back to be a Countdown champion?"
Well, Nathan Cleverly.
The fuck is Countdown?
Not now, Andy.
I was going to say before the break was scrambled. Anthony Bellew apparently is apparently qualified accountant. I don't know if that's true. So maybe Anthony.
What the fuck is Countdown?
It's a quiz.
It's a quiz show, mate.
Oh, okay.
It's
boom.
Yeah. You know, remember
It's
that 30-second countdown I gave a couple of weeks, Matty?
Yeah.
That timer. Well, that's where it's from. That show.
Okay.
I seen Frampton actually posted a bit about that on his IG. Actually, he was doing some sort of math. I don't know if he got it right or not, to be fair, so fair play to him.
Was he on it right enough? Yeah?
I was on it right enough, mate. He was on it all night there.
I would like to see how well Adrian Broner could do on a show like that if you phrased all of the math questions to him as
Matthew,
child support.
Thank you for mentioning
that, because think he could real life it.
There's a segment in that, right? So basically, what you do is you pick out some vowels, you pick a consonant, that type of thing, right? And you go to all these numbers, so all these letters get jumbled up. You go to try and make a word out of it, right? So one of these days, you could imagine it, right? Eugenic appears, right? And they've got a dictionary there. They open up the fucking dictionary, and they've got a wee camera for the dictionary as well. And they'll see the word eugenic, and next to eugenic will be the fucking picture of Adrian Broner.
Jesus fuck. Something tells me I need to look and see if I can watch this show.
You have to look it up on
I'd like
YouTube,
to see Eubank on it. I'd like to see Eubank on it. Consonant.
Isaac Lowe. You see, when the letters are all jumbled up, people are like, right, I've got this one now. I've got this one now.
To bums. I'd like to see the zone card, Vorderman versus Riley. Who you got there, like?
Simon Jordan versus Vorderman.
Oh, Simon Jordan's amazing this week. But
see a listener, by the way, he said, I'm not like, I know fellas remix the pod and all that, and we've created a lot of monsters along the way. But is Simon Jordan listening to the pod? Because that motherfucker said everything that I said last week on the pod.
Oh, he's been slaying Tony Bellew this week. Fucking Gary Neville got it tight as well. Joshua,
he just
Eddie
said it
Hearn.
nicer, as Bellew said, using big words.
Yeah, so we'll tone down the syllables for you, Tony. Anthony, sorry. What were we talking about there? Countdown.
What about Don King? Andy, he'd be alright at the numbers, wouldn't he?
He'd be good at the fucking all those big syllables and that as well, mate. I'm trying to think. There was something I was going to mention there at Matty actually about it. Fuck, was it?
Tyson has good linguistic skills. He'd have been good on Countdown.
Beat Buck versus Schofield for King of the Ring. Yeah, Beat Bob. I missed that one.
Gordon to go for referee.
Everybody just may have something
I'm
to say
not going
about
to say
that.
what I was going to fucking say. Go ahead.
After the show. Hi, Tibbs. I take aim, says Tibbs. I was going to say something.
To my What's your name again, mate? What's your name again? My good friend here. My good friend. I can't remember.
Oh, fuck, if I didn't say what I was going to say, then we're going to
Say it.
jail.
Say it, Rob. Say it.
No.
Come on, mate.
Own it, Rob. What did you call
Own
the
it.
guy who used to present Countdown for all them years, the wee fellow with the Richard?
Richard something. Richard wasn't Madley. Was it Richard Madley?
He done it for years, didn't he?
Ah, and then
He
he
was
died
a
a bit, eh?
Oh.
What was his name?
Yes, and then he died.
Give me a second here, man.
What was his name?
Richard Whiteley.
Richard Whiteley, there we go.
Richard
Whiteley.
He's a top shagger, was he?
Then?
Yeah,
Richard
Whiteley.
I just say this, like, if there's anything that I could see that might like blend like British personalities together, just because I'd like to see the results, I'd love to see Jimmy Carr and Tony Bellew in the same room. I just would think that would end really badly for Tony Bellew, and he wouldn't even know that it happened.
Oh, poor old Tony. You couldn't find Tony these days to put him in the room.
Was you know on there last night slagging off the YouTubers? Oh fuck, I was on the zone. Sorry, I wasn't doing that at all, was it?
Great for the sports, mates.
Putting their lives on the line, them fellas, and if you're entertainment, you should respect them.
Sorry, mate. Sorry.
Right, there you go. That was a good question. A backwards question from Dave, an observation that we're throwing in anyway. Right, before we get on to Bellew of the Weeks, anything else that I'm missing, boys, that maybe needs to be brought to the public's attention?
I had a question that came in from Chris Butler actually through the Facebook, and like I said, my phone went dead, so I can't look at it exactly. But he said he'd like to see us kind of discuss the differences between what you'd call the first part of Tyson Fury's career, which was up until Vladimir Klitschko, and the second part of his career, which was post the 3-year ish absence.
We do that next week, yeah.
Okay, I don't know. It's just interesting. Tyson Fury, like, now out of retirement. I don't know. There's a whole lot going on. Like, I'm surprised we haven't touched on that. Like, that whole thing is interesting with him and Usyk. And I just read something now where they don't, like, he's got to decide if he wants to go through with this Netflix series that he was getting filmed about, like, his life after retirement and that money, or go into the Usyk fight and try to postpone the Netflix thing. And I don't know. It sounds like a whole clusterfuck of epic proportions, which is Tyson Fury in a nutshell.
Mm-hmm. Jeremy Klinkson has a question. He says, I have a question for the pod. Why don't you have any black people on the panel? Well, you're free to join us on the panel if you want, Jeremy. I'll give you the link and you can jump on. We've had Jason Chukwu on the panel many times. Low Place used to come on with us.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Like, isn't it? Yeah, it's an open door here, like, you know what I mean? It's not like we don't have fucking like lines of fucking fellas auditioning to get on the pod or anything. Like,
yeah, it doesn't matter. We just take whoever we can get, mate. White, black, brown, yellow, fucking all religions, all creeds.
I think Rob should count.
If you're that fucking persuasion, mate, you call in and you fucking tell us that you're a black man.
You're welcome. You jump on. Sean Edwards has been on a few times, yeah. Long list that.
Fucking right. Steve Cunningham's been on this show, for fuck's sake. Steve Cunningham, ex-world champion, mate.
Don Charles, Nate Campbell. Who else have we had on the show that was
Seb thought he was black.
Seb's
Dr. Like, Joseph, friend of the pod.
Yeah, Seb is part Mediterranean. We interviewed Curtis Stevens on here. We interviewed.
I don't think we need to justify to the listeners that we're not racist.
We had Edwin Rodriguez. He is Dominican. I mean, I think you could say that we haven't had any Oriental people on here, but I mean, I guess that's probably language barrier.
Yeah, I've Asians on before though, for like Southeast Asia, for example.
I think Jeremy was fishing. Good luck to you. We'll catch you again soon. Right. What was the other thing, Matty, we were going to mention? You brought to our attention before Bellew of the Week.
Duke McKenzie.
Yeah, good friend of the pod, Duke.
No, it's just that the question that Chris Butler had about the two different parts of Tyson Fury's career and how they were different and such, and and I'm on just Tyson Fury Usyk and like how this weird thing is unfolding too. I think that's interesting enough as well. Like they say, if the fight's going to happen, it has to happen in December, and I don't know. I'm interested to see the fight. I mean, I'm I'm not 100% on Tyson Fury, but I would tend to say that those things that we said that Joshua needed to do to play the role of the big man in the fight, like Tyson Fury is perfectly capable and willing to do those things. So I just lean that direction heavily.
There's been an evolution of his style, hasn't there? Early on, he was the kind of exciting banger, punching himself in the face, going all out with people. He had a good fight with Nikolai Further. I was ringside for that. And then he evolved. You had the southpaw, you had the conservative guy who could jab and grab. The heavier version came in against Deontay Wilder. It's his adaptability, I suppose, Andy, that's changed throughout the years as well. He's shown that he's able to do a lot of different things to win a lot of different fights. And he has evolved, definitely, stylistically. He's had a lot of trainers as well, Andy. I mean, for me, he looks like Sugar Hill Stewart, unless he's trolling. He's on the way out as well now. So he's gone through quite a few trainers over the years.
You talk about Fury, mate?
Yeah, Fury, yeah.
Build up to the Usyk fight.
Yeah.
I'm not really wanting to discuss it too much now, to be fair, because I think this is going to cover a fair bit of topic if and when it does get made. But I remember, like, obviously the Cunningham fight, and Peter Few didn't get to go, obviously, and Tyson maybe just went about doing his own thing. I remember Peter being quite vocal about it right after the fight, saying, like, this is what happens when I'm not in the corner. Boxer size bed, Freud's flaws or faults, people might say, but he done well by it, but get the weight off him at least, maybe too much. He had to put on a few pounds after the first Wilder fight, but I think he's got the right trainer. I was watching an old fight. I'm trying to remember who the fight was. Actually, Manny was in the corner. It might have been Lennox Lewis against Ray Mercer a couple of nights ago. And see Sugar Hill Stewart then, he must have been in his 20s actually. Had a double take just to make sure it was him at one point. So he's got that experience working with fighters. He knows how Manny did it, having worked with obviously Klitschko and Lennox Lewis and that as well. But I think it's a good thing actually, to be fair. Just rather than just stick with the one trainer your entire career. But Fury seems to have kind of like settled in now with Sugar Hill, to be fair. But as fighters, especially at the top end of the sport, who are still successful, I don't think it really matters about a trainer, to be fair, actually. Guys like Floyd, for example, Manny Pacquiao, when they were at their apex, I don't think it really matters about who's in their corner at the end of the day. I think they're just purely God-given talent and skill and will, all that type of stuff, mate. I just think it doesn't really matter who would be in the corner. Remember Oscar? He had a fucking ton of trainers back in the day, didn't he? He used to swap, mix and match all the time. Even he was quite critical actually about, not critical as such. Remember with Josh making the move to Garcia, who seems to have talked himself out of future paydays, saying, look, it takes a couple of fights, maybe take about at least a year to get kind of like a wee bit kind of settled with a new trainer. Saying that's how he felt with Floyd Senior, at least in that as well. So, but I think this one has been a really good move for Tyson, to be fair.
I disagree that the trainer doesn't matter for him. Like I think you see the best Tyson Fury under Sugar Hill, and I don't know. I just feel like I think you're incorrect on that one. I think it would matter a lot, and he doesn't want to make a mistake because it's not like
I never said Tyson would do. I say there's some fighters who can go. I said Floyd Manny, for example.
Oh, I'm sorry,
but I still think really. Well, if you look at that third fight, Rob will probably remember better than me. But see when no far before the stoppage in the third fight, Sugar Hill's in the corner telling him, "Jab him, goddammit, just fucking jab him, keep it simple," and just things like that, moments like that during fights. I think that's when really you need your trainer, really. But really, guys who are supremely talented, I think can mainly get by it. For example, AJ saying that he would beat Usyk without a trainer. We kind of like, no, that's false. Usyk could probably do it without his trainer as such. You know, Lomachenko's dad's no there, but he's been using this other trainer since amateur days, that type of thing. But just like moments in fights where, like I say, Sugar Hill just says to the guy, like, just jab him, goddammit, and fucking take him out of here. Let's go home. And he went out and done that same thing.
He did indeed. We shall move on to the Bellew of the Weeks now. Andy's with us, Matty's here, so is rapping Rob Kelly. We'll go to an old favourite to lead us in. It is the Bellew of the Week after all, named after the esteemed Tony Bellew. He's hard to find these days, but we managed to fish out some footage of him from back in the day.
Let's be totally and brutally honest here. Sean Corbin makes Valerie Brudov look like Ivan Drago. It's as simple as that. He's beat what's in front of him tonight. He faces me. He's going to visit mental demons again. And let's get something straight. Come to me, mate. You come to me. Next time, ain't no judges going to be needed. I'm going to do worse than Kovalev. I am going to do worse than Kovalev.
On Saturday night, mate, you better hold it together. I'm going to smash it near you to pieces, mate. I'm going to hit him. When he gets in the ring and we get 10-ounce gloves on, I'm going to smash his head to bits.
I'm going to do it November the 30th against all odds. No matter what people say, the journalists write what you want. All as I'll say is tune back in and then look at me on December the 1st when I am world champion. It's as simple as that.
I'm willing to die in that ring. It's as simple as that. I am willing to die. I'm willing to die, Zati. Is he?
You fucking rat! The gift that keeps on giving.
Simon Jordan's bitch.
He's a good lad, is Tony. He's going to feature everybody. Keep an eye out for him. But not until you've seen this one, first of all. Misfits Boxing. A first look at KSI's professional opponent, Luis Alcaraz Pineda, on the KSI Swarms undercard. Is this a joke or not? Is this a white colour fight, free to get and free drink? Cause you the fuck. What to see this? Wow. This is just putting our sport and proper boxers down. Hashtag sorry. Hashtag this can't happen. It's Isaac.
Did you put that to Google Translate by any chance? No, did you just try and see what he was getting the fuck on about here? This I think is the hashtag. This can't happen. This can't happen. C-A-R-T.
He's like pigeon, and it's BBC pigeon.
He's like your one mate that drinks in the fucking group chat and just starts fucking messaging on WhatsApp and all 2 o'clock in the morning. You're like, all right, man, come on. I love you too, man.
Oh, good old Isaac. Get him on countdown, I say. Next one up here, Stacey Pearson, a new female listener, apparently, has nominated The Guard. Media Day, well underway here at the Ingle Gym. Watch the series of docs on and live event on October the 7th on the BBC iPlayer. There he is.
Doc Martens, man. Doc Martens. Fuck me. And he's got the fucking the tie-dye jeans as well and the fucking bike chain for the fucking
dungeon chain.
Dungeon chain. Aye. Fucking hell.
He's looking in decent shape, Andy, these days.
I wouldn't know, mate. I didn't look at him like that. I just look at the fucking face and think, you're a wanker.
He's a fine-looking woman, is the Guard. Dominic Henry nominated this one, boxingscene.com. Eddie Hearn on Joshua tossing the belts out of the ring. I think he's lost a lot of faith in the system.
Evening, Ed. Could you spin any more bollocks in regards to this, mate? Look, let's just get it straight here. You literally grabbed the belts off the commissioners, one of your belts to touch, by the way, walked away, started shouting, don't know what, dumped them over the fucking ropes. You're pissing off Usic's mates. Usic's looking at you as if with the fucking death stare to scare him, giving him a wee nod, kept his cool, kept his composure and his class. And his mates pick him up and take them over to the corner. Your corner, by the way, stood up on the fucking ring ropes and present them to the world to see that Alexander Usyk is the heavyweight champion of the world. You fucking mag. As Danny Dyer would say, you fucking mag.
Yes, I was going to say, Rob, sorry, Ben Russell's mentioned this as well. It wasn't Porky, but someone said this to me during the week, that he reckons when he dropped the belts, he spat on them. I don't remember seeing that. I'm not saying it didn't happen.
Yeah, it's possible in the fever pitch state he was in. It's possible that it happened. Like, we lost faith in the system that allowed Eddie
What you saying, bro?
to pay £1 million for Charles Martin. For Charles, yeah, £1 million for Charles Martin to come over, and as Peter Fury famously said, he was looking for the fucking ground before he hit the deck. He hit the fucking jackpot, Prince Charles, man, on the way to the ring.
Walks along himself like a god, mate.
That kind of shit from.
Oh, AJ, yeah, he's lost faith in the system. He'll be back on the app, no doubt. Toby has nominated Turtle Boob. Turtle Boob is bringing stats into the conversation. This is a way to keep them going all night. Fury Wilder 2, Fury Wilder 3. Definitive proof that stats can be chosen to support either side, says Toby. I'd be curious to see your stats to prove the other side of the argument. And then Toby went back in with a bit of logic. This one went on for quite a while. We'll not pursue it any further. There he is again. Mauricio Suleiman presenting a WBC belt or some kind of, I don't know.
I don't know who that was, to be fair, mate. I think I sent that in, to be fair, but I can't remember who he was. Looks like some sort of fucking gay wrestler that might like to fucking
He doesn't look like he's WWF, Andy. He looks like, remember I took my son to the wrestling a couple of years ago, and you had like, was it General Manslaughter and the Gravedigger?
Totally Z level fucking stuff there, mate. The Gravedigger.
$1,000 man.
The Grave Digger is a monster truck.
The Hut Man.
I don't know what, like, Lucha Libre wrestling isn't as popular as it once was, but like those are the guys that are like doing like flips off the top rope and shit like that. Like, it's fucking entertaining. And typically with those shows, you also get midget wrestling, so it's double bang for your buck.
Midget wrestling.
You parlaying that shit, baby?
Yeah. You don't bet on that. It's scripted, you fucking moron.
Yeah, but you still fucking... You said to me you bet on Japanese guys doing some sort of tickling thing, spitting at trees and that. You told me the other week there.
No, I bet on Russian table tennis is as far as I've been able to go.
I tell you what, would you ever bet on... You ever see the Russian World Championships for... the Russian Championships for, like, slapping people? You ever, like, bet on that?
Oh, I've seen that, yeah.
It's fucking brutal. Hey, guys are having to put earplugs in it to stop the eardrums fucking perforated and that.
Really?
It's crazy, mate.
Oh my God.
Guys are putting them gum shields to stop the teeth getting smacked in the fuck. It's fucking brutal, man.
Going to be on the zone. Be on the zone before you know it.
If it's like any other Russian sport, bet on the guy named Sergey and wing it.
Yeah, Jim McDonald boxing. So obviously he's going on about obviously like the body snatcher, about the butt snatcher.
Danny's mate.
No, generally, man, the Gravedigger was in the one that we went to, and General Manslaughter, and I can't remember the names of the others, but yeah, I like the $1,000 man Robs, man. Every person's got a cost. Yeah, this is catching on, though. I tell you what, this is catching on, Andy, because look, our very own Cougs is getting involved as well.
Oh, look at that! Look at that! He's getting mask, is it? Fuck me.
The ditch whackers.
What the fuck is he doing?
Makes Callie look like the most normal person in the photo.
I suppose, mate. I suppose he's got to pay his water bill somehow. If you got to rent your arse out, you got to do what you got to do, mate.
I'd like to see somebody wrestle in Joe
Callie's
Joyce's
mask is unreal, isn't it?
Huh? Fucking state of that though, man. Fucking hell.
That's rough, innit? What were you saying, Matty?
I said that I would like to see one of those guys wrestle in Joe Joyce's headgear.
Oh yeah, remember that?
Aye. Some shotting bag he was walking out, eh? Some shotting basket he was wearing.
The juggernaut helmet, whatever the fucking That was shit.
Right, anyway, onto your neck of the woods, Matty. Is this going to be featured on Chicks with Dig? Queen's Crest 2022. WBO title there in view. 9th, what is it? The 1st to the 9th. That would be, you Americans do it backwards, 1st of September. Queen's Cast. Any interest in this, Matt?
I doubt that's my neck of the woods, Steve. They're all fucking Asian women.
When I saw that poster, I said to myself, I've seen this one.
I wonder what Michael Montero's going to say about these chicks here. By
flip me, yeah. He's
off
beyond
the boat,
Bellew the weekend, mate.
Fucking fresh off the boat, mate.
Well, it's just good to know that if this doesn't work out for him, they could always become a mail order bride.
Well, you never know. WBO, they'd take the sanction in favour of the mail order bride, no doubt. So,
come on, Rob, cuss me out. I know you went off mute to say something, even if it's too.
I'm big into I'm a big fan of as a passion of mine is watching mail order bride reality stories on YouTube about these guys getting fleeced by these ones from God knows where, like paying money to write to him and all, and like they're like sitting at home going like, she looks like Angelina Jolie, and you're like, oh man, come on the Asylum Super Chat Sunday, come on.
Louis Theroux did a one with them, didn't he? Do you remember the guys were going over to Thailand and all?
I fucking can't get enough of that shit, man. See, if I see one of them on YouTube, I just watch it and I be there talking through it and all, commentating on the poor bastards, man.
I don't know if it's the same over there as it is over here, but there is this trend of like just horrible, awful men who no woman would ever want to fuck getting wives from the Philippines. I don't know if you have people over there that do the same. It's like, well, I got a job. No woman will touch me because I'm a douchebag. Guess I'll fucking buy a woman from fucking the Philippines.
My brother-in-law's marrying one in a couple of weeks.
Well, on the shows, I'm not speaking about your brother. No, but on the show, when they realise that the women have hopes and dreams of their own, they want to have lives of their own, independent lives. Let's say, hey, I decided for this shit. Come on.
As long as hopes and dreams is all they've got, and say you'll be all right.
They all end up keeping a private calendar marking down the days until the statute allows them to be citizens and they can fuck off.
Joey Nelson's mentioned Tommy as well.
Big A.
No, that girl loves Tommy. That girl legitimately loves the fat oaf. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, we mentioned Louis Theroux earlier, which was a bit of a stretch when it comes to boxing, but apparently not. Louis Theroux was at the KSI fight last night. I just warmed to KSI's work ethic and his relationship with his fans, says Louis Theroux at ringside.
But is he like some sort of filmmaker or
He's an investigative journalist, isn't he?
Yeah.
Who didn't fucking press hard enough to find out about Jimmy Savile and all that shit, didn't he? Something
was
like
he
that.
part of the? Did he the one that kind of brought up that U-tree situation?
He went to live with him. We went to live with him for a while and couldn't figure out anything funky was going on.
Okay.
He's up there now with Helen Mirren, being the strangest.
The guy, it's his voice saying "When money don't jiggle, jiggle, it walk." That fucking TikTok thing, because it was off one of his documentaries from years ago. And somebody brought it back from the depths of hell.
Oh, right, okay. Look in the background there, Andy. I've just spotted. Is that Nigel Farage?
It is. It is, man.
Is he there? Was that photoshopped? What the fuck?
It is. I did it.
I just noticed that. That must be photoshopped. That.
Fucking hell. Is that Big Paul Webb? I thought he just got married there. What the fuck's he doing ringside?
Oh, it is.
Nigel Farage.
Josh Ford says as well. I just noticed that there now.
Yeah, you think that has to be Photoshop? Just there's something with the way his head just kind of stands out a little.
Where's Chisora?
Right?
It's a pity Big Donny was in the call, man. He'd be wanting big Nigel Farage's fucking autograph now. He's a big fan of fucking Nigel Farage. So the Swedes, the Swedish fucking love Nigel Farage, man.
Yeah, but Donnie's feeling the own pain because all those psychos fucking took over his local political party and put him out of the ladder. So he just fucking, poor bastard, kind of built the fucking machine that destroyed him. God love him.
All right, let's move on. Donnie for Bellew of the week. A long week. He'll be crying into his burritos now. Serves him right.
Spicy bean burrito, mate.
That's what he's left with. He used to be able to go to city council meetings. Now he has to eat bean burritos and cry.
AJ Wilder, with or without the belt, is bigger than Usyk Fury. Frank Smith hits back at Frank Warren. Frank Smith.
Imagine Frank Smith hitting back at anybody, man. You let your boss fucking torture you in fucking sparring sessions, you fat cunt. You fucking shut your mouth. You've got no right to speak about anybody because you're just on the payroll. Then Eddie's bidding, Marchman's bidding, and Uncle Baz's bidding. So shut your fucking mouth and be quiet.
Yeah. So apparently Farage was at that show last night.
Was he?
They said he was belting out the national anthem. He was genuinely there, yeah. It wasn't photoshopped.
Was he? He was belting out the national anthem, was
he?
he?
That's what they said, yeah.
Oh, fucking hell, man. I'm surprised they didn't get fucking drop kicked for the top rope.
Was he better than Eddie last week, Andy?
I stand there fighting Eddie, man. What a pawn standing like the fucking... What a knob jockey, man. Fucking hell.
Please save me, my gracious queen. I'm sorry, I'm a fucking cunt. I don't know.
No, it's not the one I sing, mate. It's the one I sing is about marmalade and jam.
Oh, yeah.
5 cheese crackers up your asshole. Bang, 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 bang. But when you go, mate.
Yeah, here we are. Simon Jordan. Yes. I wasn't able to cut this, unfortunately. It wouldn't cut for some reason, so I had to give up in the end at 7 o'clock. Simon Jordan reacts to Tony Bellew's epic rant. So Tony is going in on Jordan. Jordan's going back at Tony. Tony, I assume, Andy, has stopped talking about Everton Football Club because he's never laced on the boots.
Yeah, well, mate, this is what I was going to say. It was part of my shtick tonight, actually. So obviously Bellew's come out. Was it with Coogan, I think it was, saying that Simon's a clown, hasn't laced up the gloves, hasn't done it at our level. So Jordan then comes out, comes out the AJ fan club, basically puts it back on Tony. Reduces the syllables a little bit for Tony's understanding. But what does Tony do? Tony doesn't do a Lemmy, or sorry, Lemmy doesn't he double down? Doesn't he back do it? He fucking actually apologises. So I was kind of surprised at this actually, because this is Tony Bellew telling Simon Jordan, who's never laced up a pair of gloves before, hasn't boxed at his level before, so he shouldn't give a fucking opinion about what I do. All right. So next time. So I thought Tony actually. So Tony comes out with a kind of tweet. He's like apologising for calling him names, and I spoke to him and I apologised. So he kind of like backed down and walked it back a wee bit. So Tony must be kind of like evolving as a human being, after calling us out, calling us bums, and hasn't done it at his level. Simon Jordan hasn't done it at his level either, but he's apologising to it. So I thought that was to see Tony walk it back like that. I thought was a wee bit pathetic actually, because I don't know how he's kind of like treated people in the past. You know what I'm saying?
Yep, absolutely.
Well, I mean, you can have an opinion. I mean, you boxed a bit. I mean, you at least went into the gym and did some shit, right, Andy?
At his level. At his level.
Yeah, I know. I've not done it at Tony's level, though, mate. I've not been knocked out of fucking Adonis Stevenson before. I haven't been knocked out of fucking Alexander Usyk. I haven't had a fake beef with David Hay before. That type of shit. So I'm not on Tony's level, mate. I'm a fucking box dweller. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't know. But the Adonis Stevenson like beating the shit out of him like that, like I don't know. Has anyone ever been punched by a pimp before? Like, did it resonate with anybody? Like,
a few people, yeah.
My uncle fucking gave me a slap once.
Oh dear.
Sorry, the ATM didn't work. You son of a bitch. Leave me alone.
KSI has been nominated by Carrie Last. These guys think they can mess with me, but once they feel the power, it's dangerous, bro. I'm moving like Deontay Wilder in these streets, man. It's scary. No one wants it.
It was Deontay Wilder moving in these streets. I've not seen him for over a fucking year and a bit.
Oh no, he's coming back.
I will say you'll get to kind of see him at a higher level because there's probably a way better chance of him getting to fight Tommy Fury than there is with Jake Paul. Because you guys can just do that over there. He doesn't have to, nobody has to cross the fucking ocean to make that happen.
Horsecock and the boys said about Spencer Oliver. Has he been nominated already? Well, he was last week, wasn't he?
He was back. He was on Sport. He was on Talk Sport again during the week, mate. He says he was trying to back up his statement because one of the judges had it level after. I want to say it was an odd round. No, it was an odd round. And then people were like, "Well, how the fuck can you have
level after 9
have
rounds?
It level unless there's a knockdown or a point deduction?" And some cunt says, "Oh, but he didn't factor in a 10-10 round." There was not a round in there. It was fucking 10-10, man. What the fuck are you watching?
And then it was funny, actually, Jordan and Jim White were sticking at the speech. It was like, what you got to understand it. I was trying to big up Josh. I was trying to, you tell him how good he's been because he doesn't get the credit. And Jim White was just like, that was a load of all nonsense, wasn't it, Spencer?
I know.
It's just a load of all nonsense, wasn't it?
He doesn't get the credit, Rob, apart from the fucking 30 million quid credit notes he gets fucking sent. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, fuck, if that was me, I'd be like, fuck that credit. Fuck that credit. Give me that money.
Go to your bank account, you see about the credit you'll get out of there, mate. Fucking hell.
Got dug out by Probellum's Jim White.
The iconic sports reporter, mate. The iconic sports reporter with yellow tie. Let's strangle the cunt with that tie, by the way.
Boxing media backflip goes wrong post-fight celebration. Yeah, I tell you what, he tried the backflip and it went completely wrong. Thing is, Matty, Lopez does it.
His knees or something like that.
Gervonta Davis did a real dangerous one the once, didn't he? Off the back of the ropes, and they're bound to go wrong at some point. These things.
It'd be amazing to see though, but worth the fucking pay-per-view the entrance alone, actually.
The cruciate ligament.
Yeah, but it'd be great to see like maybe like a top end athlete just like doing something crazy like a celebration. Like you could maybe see like Joe Joyce doing like the that capoeira type dance he does towards the end of some fights, and he does his ankle, and he breaks his leg or something like what are you fucking doing, mate? You just like spent all that fucking money.
I'm struggling for the name of the quarterback right now, but he scored a touchdown, and he either went and headbutted the goalpost or the padding around the first row of the stands, and he knocked himself the fuck out. I can't remember who it was. But
like that guy chopped the heat off then, I suppose.
Yeah, you got to watch your celebration. You want to make sure you don't injure yourself in the process there. Right?
Did anybody remember seeing that video about the football player who was in Asia somewhere, who scored a goal when he ran up to the fucking dugout and stuck his head through the perspex panel of the fucking dugout? Ran right at it, just fucking headbutted the thing. Celebration, fuck me.
Des says I forgot the heavyweight fought Hay, balls up over the rope vault. Was that Monty Barrett done that? Tried to get over the rope. It was Barrett, wasn't it?
That's right.
When you're 240 pounds, it doesn't work too well. Like it's just physics, dude. Come on, use your head. It's like Nassim Hamed was half your goddamn size.
Vicky Graville has nominated this one. Amir Khan says, lovely to meet Sir Alex Ferguson at Manchester Old Trafford Stadium. Best known for managing Manchester United from 86 to 2013. He's widely regarded as one of the greatest football managers of all time at Man United. Heartfelt speech from Amir, which he had cut and pasted from Wikipedia.
boss. Amir Khan is unintentional comedian. He doesn't know how funny he is, by the way. He needs to be fucking cold. He needs to do some stand-up, by the way, because that typical he's Bolton's Yorkshire, now is it? No, is it near Yorkshire?
No, Lancashire. Ooh,
Lancashire, sorry.
Dangerous ground here, Andy.
Yeah, I know, but I was going to say the Yorkshire cunts are quite dry, so I'm assuming the Lancashire cunts are the same. You know, they're fucking humour, but he's unintentionally funny as old Amir, like.
Mm-hmm. Okay, to Manchester.
Social media nightmare. Anyway, like remember he wasn't let on a plane one time, and then he was accusing his wife of fucking fancying AJ and all, and he got a fucking loose cannon on Twitter, like.
AJ, do you claim that AJ blasted on the face or something?
Didn't you say she looked like a mid-set fire player?
Who said that?
I don't know. Someone allegedly.
That sounds
I don't think it was on this podcast. It might have been. I can't remember.
That sounds like me, to be honest, mate.
It may or may not have been you.
I'm fucking sweating and laughing here now, man. Fuck me. Steve's sitting in his fucking basement there with that radiator on. He's looking like me. And he's sweating like fuck.
Fucking hell, man. I'll get down to 8 stone here.
In your basement.
In your basement.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Right, a couple of videos. Just leave me alone. Bellew wants to be left alone when he's not advertising meet and greets on the big screen at Stockport County.
Have a bucket of beers on us. Is Tony paying for that, is he? I can hear a couple of buckets of beers, no problem.
I know a fella who'd love that advertising space, by the way.
Porky boy. Porky's on here with his Stig Hairy Chest account. Let me see you, Porky. We've got your IP address, mate. Let me see you.
I went to a match at Stockport County once. It's right next to the airport. Apparently, it's closer to Manchester than Old Trafford. Someone told me. I don't know whether that's true, but there's planes going over every second of the day. That was back in the dark Wolves days, Andy. But yeah, Stockport County, great place.
Was that the 4th Division days, mate?
No, it wasn't quite as bad as that. I think they're in the They're in what's the Championship now? Would have been about 20 years ago. But yeah, Bellew's coming to a location near you. That's all you need to know.
Yeah, possibly. Whatever and get relegated this year, Stockport County is a fucking possibility, mate. Yeah.
Exactly, just leave him alone. Right, final couple here. First of all, Boxing Block Centre was sent in to me. This guy has some interesting takes on AJ's loss to Usyk. Let's have a listen to what he had to say.
The former unified heavyweight king of the universe and the only two-time unified heavyweight ruler in the whole world, Joshua, made a huge declaration after a second loss to Alexander Usyk. Of course, we know he's lost 3 times now, once to Andrew Jr., twice to Usyk. However, I don't see that loss. I don't see that fight. I don't see that as a loss for Joshua, because I still believe that Joshua was robbed in that fight. And whether you like it or not, you know, some people might have some things to say and stuff like that. Well, it is your own opinion. However, I've been a boxing fan for over 20 years, okay? I know what boxing is all about. And that fight right there, Usyk used some dirty tactics that, in my opinion, especially knowing that he was going to get knocked out, he called the referee to save him a couple of times after getting hit to the body by Anthony Joshua. Joshua's intention was to go in there and fight Usyk and go to the body and punish him. He did that. We all know what Usyk's reaction was. Usyk is not a warrior, bro. Usyk is a fake warrior.
Who is that fucker?
Who's that?
What is he called again? Boxing Block Centre. Should block him, I think.
Oh, mate. Fucking hell. I wish his dad had a cock block by the
Usyk's a fake warrior and Joshua was robbed, apparently. I can't remember who sent that in, but shout out to them anyway.
Embarrassing, fuck's sake.
Here, Steve, you see Matty's comment in the chat there to you?
Yeah. I've got one
Way to
back
go.
for him, don't worry. I've got one back for him in a minute. First of all, shout out to the Dr. FMG, one of our Australian listeners, $7.99 he's thrown in. Can somebody tell Joe Joyce that he's not 14 stone, he's 18 stone, he's heavy, he shouldn't be doing backflips after 12 rounds.
Then you see that picture I sent in on the chat. It was at the Newcastle game last week. That big fat guy trying to celebrate the fucking barriers. And he's like, he's no 14 stone, he's 18 stone, and he's heavy. He couldn't fucking celebrate the goal.
I can't even do a front flip on a trampoline. I really can't have a say in this.
No say for Matty. We've got a good one in finally before I bring the boys in from Dominic Henry, who's been listening to Boxing Social videos. Shout out to Take Aim's best interviewer in the game in our chat. He didn't do this interview, but Joe Gallagher was being interviewed by somebody. And Joe had an interesting reason for one of his fighters being pulled out of their fight. You might not see this coming. Let's have a listen.
All set and prepared. I think 4 of your stablemates, or your fighters, fight on Saturday. How's preparation gone?
Yeah, really good. You've seen this morning how they've all been in doing a sharpen up session. It was 5, but Callum Thompson's had to pull out. He's been bitten by a dog and had to have a tetanus yesterday. So, yeah, we're not taking no risks.
I'm getting Jose Mourinho vibes here, by the way. I speak, I'm in very big trouble. I don't want to be in big trouble.
Oh, man. Poor Joe. Fuck's sake.
Oh, good old Joe. That was a good one. Shout out to Dominic for finding that one. It is a very strong week this week. Jess gone. You're absolutely right, Jess. He, she, they, them. Right, Andy, what have you got for us that you haven't already sent in?
Got a few, mate. So, obviously, Eddie Hearn, Evening Ed. For staying, I had an offer for Deontay Wilder recently. I've never even heard anything back. It was a potential fight, could have been made with Dillian White. We want to make that fight for early 2023. Well, Dillian White can make that fight in his own head if he wants, because he's a promotional free agent apparently, and Wilder's going to tell you to go and fucking spin on it. So I don't think you're going to get a response regardless, mate. So hard lines. Robert Garcia, just like obviously pointing at the obvious, but he's talked himself out of future bag money. Saying that Josh was mentally defeated after the 10th or 11th round, I think it was. So he'll be getting sacked, no doubt. This one as well I found quite weird. We're going to put up for Mauricio Suleiman saying that it would only be fair for Lomachenko to fight the winner of Haney against Kambosos. Then went on to say it's only fair after what he's gone through so much, just as usually went through. He went back to Ukraine and he's been supporting his country. Now he left to go train. He's going to fight in October. It would be very, very just for him to be able to fight for the championship as he did. So Lomachenko's getting the fight for a world title because his country's under siege just now. So that's basically the gist of that one. So seeming people say that boxing is no fucking fair. It is actually if you just look at this fucking situation, motherfuckers. Unbelievable. And I've got one here for, I think Big Dan Raphael was calling it the WBA that Eddie Hearn picked up on. So you've got this whole clusterfuck now with WBA titles. Santa Cruz now fighting Vargas and Lee Woods fighting Mauricio Lara, even though I don't think Lara was ranked with WBA. But anyways, Eddie Hearn says 2 brilliant fights, a mega fight, winner versus winner. To be honest, WBA pushed hard for the 2 to meet, but both camps agreed to interim fights, probably all happening in the same time frame. But Dan Raphael wasn't to be hard on that one. He says not up to the camps to agree to title fights in the interim after the mandatory was ordered and both sides told the wretched WBA that it was a deal. It's up to the sanction body to determine whether its title or titles will be available, not the fighters or the promoters. And Eddie Hearn came back again saying, disagree, I think boxing wins here. Fucking hell. Simon Jordan again for calling out Bellew, Gary Neville, Spencer Oliver, just taking receipts and names and bodies fucking left, right and centre during the week there. So fair play to Simon Jordan. And another one for WBA, they announced this week that the cruiserweight title, so the Belgian kid, is it Riyad Mira? He's formally resigned as champion. So now that Arzan Goulamarian is now the WBA champion. And they proudly admitted that with the cruiserweight division now having one champion, there is now 10 divisions with only one champion by the WBA, while the plan to reduce the number of the world titles continues to move forward. This has been running for about fucking a best part of 3 and a bit years, I would imagine now. So they're fucking gradually getting there. So one for WBA again there as well, mate.
They united Europe quicker than they condensed the titles.
And one for the Zones by saying that they're increasing its annual US subscription price to $150 per year.
Woo! That won't affect us, though, just the suckers.
Yeah, mate. Team stream me all the way.
Good stuff. Thanks, Andy. I know there's a few people have sent me, including Andy, which I've cut and just forgotten to upload because they're not sitting there and they're coming to me now. I know you sent me one that I was going to read out and I just don't see it there, so sorry about that, guys. But we've had some good ones, some strong ones. Take Ames sent me one in. Just won't upload. Ames just can't get it up on a Sunday evening, you know what I mean, Matty? Just getting on a bit now, can't quite manage it anymore.
Yeah, Michael McDermott, mate, takes me that fucking Viagra, baby. That's what you need to do.
I don't have that problem.
Mind over matter, Matty, eh? Mind over matter, baby.
Yeah, exactly. Focus, Matty. Any Boy of the Week nominations?
Yeah, I have to say that got to give one to Tyson Fury for saying that Alexander Usyk, the fight wouldn't sell necessarily because he's an unknown foreigner. So I thought that was pretty good.
Good stuff. Rob, any from you, please?
Yeah. I thought last week's outburst was the most cringe thing I'd seen in boxing until I saw that matchroom video that they put out to try and salvage it. As I alluded to earlier with the black and white footage of Eddie speaking passionately in the post-fight press conference about his run from Dillian White, from Vladimir Klitschko, to a bunch of other shit fighters, Charles Martin, Joshua fucking Parker, stinker of a fight, Takam, stinker, wobbly against Povetkin, ass beat against Ruiz, beaten by Usyk. Like, it's not that impressive. Like, stop this full fucking public salvage operation now. AJ's mental health, he's crying in the press conference. We should care about him. Rule Britannia. My DAZN fucking future hinges on this guy because Golovkin and Canelo 3 is fucking 5 years past the sell-by date. I don't know, man. It's grim times, and then you have Eddie.
Rob, you notice as well that, see, about a year ago, Eddie was saying that Joshua is still learning on the job. And now, like, a year later, it's like, well, you know, he's an experienced fighter,
World silver medalist. World silver
world
medalist,
champion.
amateur Olympic gold medalist, 2-time heavyweight champion, but learning on the job still. Oh, he's some fucking man.
And he said as well, if he beat Usyk, he would be pound for pound the number one fighter on the sport. So he's went for, like, say, a fucking ranked novice who's a 2-time world heavyweight champion in a year to be the fucking world number one pound for pound. What a man! What a man!
And the music set behind it. It's the creepiest and weirdest video since Deontay Wilder's fucking spooky Glovegate allegations.
To this day!
To what the eye don't see, to the hand beholds. Fucking get behind Anthony Joshua. He's a great man. He is a great man. Fuck off, man, will you? Just get the guy away from the sport for a while. Let him go fucking find a rhythm and a trainer. It won't be Robert Garcia, but let him go find someone to work with and get his head right, like, and get rid of the yes men, like.
Yeah, get rid of the yes men, cut down the fucking entourage, and get the hashtag back. Road to undisputed.
Well, to be fair, he is protecting AJ, though, isn't he? Getting him away from the limelight, keeping him out the way to get his head right. You know, he's putting him on DAZN for his next 3 fights.
Yeah, simple, you snidey bastard, mate. I love it. I love it.
I've been watching
you, by the way.
I've been watching too much of the Boondocks lately, so everything I want to say about AJ would probably get us more hate mail and emails than Steve's management of the chat. So I'm just going to always be commenting.
Mismanagement of the chat, right? Let's get on with it. Have a quick rundown before we run out of time. So we had Isaac Lowe going in on the Misfits. We had the Gad getting stuck in there. We had AJ has lost faith in the system. We had Toby going in against Turtle Boobs. We had the wrestling ones there as well. We had Chicks with Dig with the Queen's Crest. We had Louis Theroux and Nigel Farage turning up at the boxing last night. We had Frank Smith was nominated as well. We had Simon Jordan versus Bellew. KSI was nominated as well. We had the backflip guy. We had Amir Khan get nominated from Ricky Graville. And we had Just Leave Him Alone, Tony Bellew. Plus we had our friend, what do you call him again? Boxing Block Center, saying that Usyk is a fake warrior and saying AJ won. And we had Joe G's fighter having to pull out due to the dog bite. It's quite a strong week, Andy, this week. Who are you going for?
I got to go for Bellew, mate, over the Simon Jordan saga, and maybe just by extension we'll throw in Spencer Lover in there as well, and Joshua. Jordan doesn't, well, obviously he's Masters, it's his talk sport, but he doesn't need access. He doesn't need to curry favour these people. He doesn't seem to like he needs to be blowing smoke up people's arses for access, that type of thing. He just calls his opinion, which we've all got. Opinions are like arseholes, we've all got one. And it's riled a few people. This is what happens. What Simon Jordan is saying and doing as such It's what we've been doing for the last fucking decade. Just that we just didn't do it mainstream. Without the swearing that, obviously, and that as well, but what can you say? But it's just good that you see that Tony getting all worked up and calling people clowns and calling people names under the sun, that type of thing, and having to apologise for it. Why apologise, Tony? Sorry, Anthony. Why are you apologising? Just, that's your opinion. The man's never laced up a pair of gloves. Hasn't had a fight in his fucking puff. He's never done it at your level, so he's not allowed in the fucking opinion. That's the way that's what you told us. So you should fucking tell him that he's not allowed an opinion because he hasn't done it at your level, mate. So until that time.
Do one, you carrot. Well said, Andy. Tony Bellew, you get nominated for his own award. It's about time. Matty, for the sheer randomness, in the spirit of Helen Mirren commenting on Joshua Franco against Andrew Maloney, I've got to go for Louis Theroux and Farage anyway, turning up at this fight last night. That's my nomination. Who are you going for?
Steve, it's a week where there are a fair number of nominations, but there's not really a standout, right? There's just nothing that really bangs out of the bunch. So I'm gonna have to go with whoever that twat was that said that Usyk isn't a warrior and that Joshua won the fight. You're talking about a guy that was in a war zone in Ukraine and went 12 rounds with a guy who fucking outsized him massively and came away with a victory, hurt him. That's some bullshit. Oh, it was the good doctor. Oh,
no, it wasn't. It wasn't.
Okay.
It was Boxing Block Center, BBC, no less.
Oh, well, yeah. Well,
you might know.
Yeah, well, they're fucking, they're dumb.
Yep, BBC getting nominated for Matthew there. Rob, it's coming down to you here. We've got a three-way, as Matty would say. Split us.
Yeah, for fuck's sake.
It's like you're a member of the Wu-Tang Clan, Rob.
And the acronyms
get the strap on Rob, split us in two, mate.
I'm going to say Eddie. I'm going to say Matchroom for that video. Like, that is abominable.
Desperation.
The worst thing I've ever seen. Abominable. Atrocious fucking attempt at recovering. Fucking. Why didn't, as one of the listeners said in the chat, why didn't they show the slow motion of him throwing the belts down? Pricks.
Yep. Most angry showed all night. There you go. Four-way split then. We can't split them. Congratulations to everybody for winning Bellew of the Week. Four-way split. Just as the WBA would have wanted it. That's episode 489. Well, we've done a good stint, haven't we? 2 hours, 45 minutes as usual. We've managed to hold up. Shout out to our super chatters who jumped in tonight. Liam Davis, Beat Bot Boop, and the Dr. FMG, all through in a nice little super chat. So you've been added into the random number generator, name generator rather. Next week, when the signed Andy Lee glove, we'll draw a name out of all the Patreon subscribers and all of the super chatters, including Patreon subscribers who've joined us this week over on patreon.com/Boxing Asylum. We had Harrison Parks and Derek, aka the Maynooth Mudshark. So welcome to you two guys as well. You also go into the hat. Hopefully you enjoy your stay. And as for that, thanks to everybody who's been on the panel tonight. Rob Kelly's been here, so is Matty DiGialinardo and Andy Patterson. Matty will be in the hot seat next week. I've been Steve Wellings. Don't forget to like, subscribe, do all those beautiful things. Share the podcast with your friends. Even if they don't like boxing, they might enjoy listening to it. And to celebrate AJ and Oliver and TalkSport and Bellew and Matchroom and all them winning, rather than our usual outro, let's enjoy once again AJ's meltdown as we close out. I've been Steve and bye.
This is a proper man in, you know what I mean? Proper man who don't talk shit, don't tell lies. He gives everybody his time.
Give him a round of applause as our heavyweight champion of the world. Woo! Nice work to Joshua. I'm not a 12-round fighter. Look at me. I'm a new breed of heavyweights. All them heavyweights, Mike Tyson, Sonny Liston, Jack Dempsey. Oh, yeah, you don't throw combinations like Rocky Marciano. Because I ain't fucking 14 stone, that's why. I'm 18 stone, I'm heavy.
You're a troll. You know the word troll? You know what that means? Like a troll is just a fucking complete and utter low-life scumbag. It's a troll. So what? You don't have to say anything to the trolls.
Hard work. This guy here is a phenomenal talent. We're going to cheer for him 3 times. Well, how many belts you got now, bro? 5. Hip, hip! Hip, hip! Hip, hip! Hip, hip! Hip, hip! And as I said, I was studying Ukraine and all the champions that have come from your amazing country, but I've never been there. But at the same time, what's happening there is, I don't know what's happening, but it's not nice at the end of the day. I've seen it with Lomachenko in his second fight against Orlando. There was unrest in Ukraine, right or wrong. There was issues in Ukraine in your second fight. There was civil war. Vitaly Klitschko when he faced Danny Williams. Civil unrest.
Let's get behind AJ to win this weekend. He's a great man. He's done so much for the sport. He's inspired so many. As Bellew says, you know, he paved the way, AJ, for fights for Bellew, like against Usyk and against David Haye, and for him to have that kind of platform.
Usyk as a champion, please raise your hand. Under them circumstances, he managed to become champion. Champ, champ! Champ, champ! Champ, champ! And I just want to say, Bismillah.